Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So I'm going to cover, hopefully, at least, I'm definitely going to cover the DNC night too, which is hilarious. We'll get into that in a moment. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But it's a real freak show over there, right? I mean, as bad as, and as stupid as Trump's was with the dumbing down of the Hulk Hogan stuff, this DNC for the Democrats is just, I mean, with the Band-Aid gate and ketchup gate, which was epic, like that was, a huge deception. But the stuff that they're pulling over at the DNC thing is, I mean, I can't compare them because they're not, they're two different things. But well, anyways, let me just say the introduction part. So, like I always now have to talk about the whole, um, you know, uh, shadow banning stuff that YouTube's doing and the algorithms and the amount of content I put out as well, which is just, YouTube's stupid because they punish you, the algorithms punish you for putting out more content, but they want you to put out more content. And so I'm putting out a lot of content now. I put out a 4-hour video that I just made public today. Today's Wednesday, August 21st. I don't know when this one's going to be up, maybe Friday. I don't know, possibly Thursday. But either way, all the things. The subscribing, resubscribing. If they unsubscribe you, clicking the notification button, leaving comments, even if it's an emoji, and liking the videos, I think is maybe the most important thing. I don't know. But some way that you're showing YouTube that you're into the videos of the channel. The membership program, also very important, to support the channel, and there's merch. And so, I started watching the DNC thing last night, and they were doing the state-by-state certification of the delegates for Kamala Harris. Now, I don't know if what they're doing is illegal, because it's not, you vote for delegates to vote for your candidate, right? And the delegates can change. Like if the candidate had a huge scandal or something and won't back down and won't withdraw, they're on their own, the delegates can change. So I think this is, possibly, I mean, they've had these ones where there was these conventions where it was a divided convention because one of the candidates didn't get all the delegates required. And the candidate with the majority of, like, let's say there's 3 candidates and they're splitting the delegates, 3, relevant candidates. And it doesn't mean the one with the most is going to win, like they're going to broker a deal. And so, I don't know how much this is legal, what they're doing. But Kamala didn't receive one frickin' vote, which we all know. And so they came in with these delegates who are all voting for Kamala, like this, the state by state. And they're all going for Kamala. And they made it really entertaining. And I was like, this seems a little over the top. I don't even remember, usually they just say, if I'm the great state of Missouri, does whatever, right? Gives their delegates to the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris. Like, that's usually how they do it. It's kind of boring and nobody really watches it. But they were like stupid stuff they were doing, right? And then I saw David Axelrod, and if I find it, I find it. But he talked about how they jazzed it up on purpose. And I'm like, why call attention to something that she didn't earn, right? And then she gave a weird speech. She wasn't there. And they videoed her in a speech. Her husband gave a epic, funny speech. And I watched a little bit of the Michelle Obama thing. And, dude, she's looking buff there. And, and we'll get into that stuff. And then Barack Obama apparently gave a speech as well. And there were some other goofy speeches. And, we'll cover some of those. That one lady from The View was really stupid, so I didn't watch that, but that's going to be kind of interesting. But, the whole thing with the delegates, like, she didn't earn anything, right? Like, she was, and they, like I said, they rigged this for her. I think they started thinking about doing this. I mean, it was probably talked about every year. They had to be talking about, all right, when do we get rid of Joe Biden? Like, when do we acknowledge that the guy has, dementia or has, whatever he has, Parkinson's. I mean, the Parkinson's thing, if you guys, one of my earlier videos, you can find the video. It's on MSNBC. But they interviewed a doctor who specialized in Parkinson's, and he said a first-year medicine student should be able to diagnose Joe Biden just from his walk and his mannerisms and just looking at a video of him, right? Like, that's how bad it is. Like, any first-year med student should be able to just say, oh, that guy's got Parkinson's. That's how obvious it is. And he described the walk and all the things that he does, like the turning sideways when he looks at somebody, like he doesn't turn his head like a normal person does. He turns his whole body. Like it's just all the motor functioning, the gait of his walk, word retrieval. He has issues with word retrieval and things. And like in the beginning, you don't know the difference between Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or some of these other, brain deterioration conditions. But with Joe Biden, like after a while, there's this thing called differential diagnosis, and so they have that, like in every kind of medical or in the psychological community, it's called differential diagnosis, where you have two conditions that are very similar: the personality disorders, borderline and narcissistic, and antisocial personality disorders. Like all these things are similar, but then there's going to be things that emerge as the condition gets worse, and you can diagnose them from these outstanding symptoms. And Joe Biden is so far along in his Parkinson's that it should be obvious for people that he has it, right? And so they knew all this, right? If we know it, like if the American people, 70% of the American people could see the guys, to completely breaking down, then, WTF, right? Like, like what's happening? And so, they knew this was going to happen. And they had Kamala and they had the other candidates. And like with Kamala, she was already a part of the Biden team. So this was, each person's going to have their specific people they're going to put in charge of the election and put in charge of the transition into being president and put in charge of all these, they have these teams that they have to put together to pull off all the different things. They have to have a team for the ground game. They have to have a team for the advertising, the internet, team, and they're just going to put together their advertising and their, and then you have to have a team who has a strategy. And then you have to have the team that's going to connect with all the, the election officials in state by state situation. Like they have all these, it's a complex network, right? And Trump didn't have much of a network because he was like kind of an outsider. And, all the ways that they deal with it. Joe Biden made a deal with the neocons who are Republican, and that's why this foreign policy is so pro-war and, these things. Like that was part of the reason they could screw Trump, because he had the right wing of the Republican Party neocons, the George W. Bush people, the Cheneys and the Rumsfeld, the holdovers from that, who didn't like Trump, right? And, Trump wasn't cooperating with them. And so, there's all these pieces that go into, building a candidate. You have to have a group of people that are handlers that sign off on you. And so Kamala was an approved candidate who already had the Biden team. So instead of just creating her own team, she would just have the Biden team, and she would be completely handled like him. The one thing they had with Biden is, like, he wasn't able to make decisions, so he wasn't making decisions, right? There's a saying in the Sage-Mark system, like a real spiritual person is like a dead man in the hands of the dresser, like in the Indian connotation, the person who dresses the dead, right? And it's just there like a mannequin and just allowing, that's somebody who submits to God in such a way that they just surrender to God and, this thing. Like that's a positive way to look at it. But in terms of the politics here, like Joe Biden was weekend at Bernie's, and he was saying all the time, oh, I'm going to get in trouble for this. Well, to who? Like, you're the frickin' president. So, I got in trouble for that, because they were just, roll him out there. And other than his gaffes and his things, his decisions, they would just tell him what his policies were. And Kamala Harris doesn't care. Like they want to paint Kamala Harris as a hyper liberal, the Republicans, but she's an opportunist and person who just wants to be famous, and she's, basking in the glow of her queen coronation of this election that she's just loving, right? And they're trying to make it about joy, that she's a joyful person because of her laugh and her smile and how happy she is. But it's like a witch-like joy. It's like a selfish joy, a joy of, someone who just got away with something, right? It's not a joy of, oh my God, I'm going to do a good job and everyone's going to be joyful. Like she's going to be joyful, but America's going to freaking suffer, right? And so, this idea, and I was talking about this maybe at the end of the video yesterday. I get these comments where people say the election's rigged. No, the system's rigged. The election's a part of the system. And it's way worse than if the system's rigged, right? Because they have, a strategy, and they are, cultivating these candidates and these movements years in advance. They don't leave anything to chance, because when you're running a criminal operation that's based in a confidence game, a flim-flam game, it's a scam, you can't leave things to chance, right? Like when you get up there and say, this is the most important election of our generation. They've said that every election, like this election's pivotal. And if they had an election where you're fighting for what Biden would call the soul of the nation, that World War III is on the table, or the destruction of the system, like they've all said that, right? That's where we are. If that was the case, why would you let the American people decide, right? Like, if the election was that important, there was one Democratic strategist that came out and said, that this election is so pivotal, we can't leave the voters, we can't leave it up to the voters. And so they rigged it for Biden whatever way. And whether it was the mail-in ballots or just the COVID stuff. But now they're not doing that. Like they've allowed Trump to, have basically immunity from his criminal behavior. And they gave him this great narrative of being shot in the ear, like having this WWE hero and the fist pumping and the fight thing. And so he's right now ahead, and it looks like he has a good chance of winning. And he should win, because Kamala is pretty horrible. And you can see it, like I don't think people can connect with her, right? I don't think she connects with people. And like the people that she needs to connect with to win the swing states is the whatever it is. And whoever they pick. Like it's, there's going to be a reason for it. But picking Kamala means getting rid of Trump and blaming Trump for everything. Like they're trying to blame Trump for the economy, or everything that is. They're trying to blame Trump for immigration. Like they're trying to, be the opposite of what they, they are, which is the incumbents and, the whole thing. But, the people who are in power, and the Democrats are trying to paint Trump as being in the club with the rich guys, and they're there for the middle class, working class people, and Kamala's working class. And they did another one of these narratives for Kamala and one for Dougie Fresh. And I covered the deception behind the first one they did of Kamala when she was, in my last video. And so there's that, right? So we'll get into all that today. But they're just so weird. They're doing these narrations and trying to, frame it in a way. But they're like giving you hints of the truth of the kind of person and the kind of views they have. And so we'll get into that as well. But, what you should be able to decipher is that these two bozos couldn't save anything, right? They're not going to save, the country. Like, they're bozos. Like, Trump and Kamala are not great people, great leaders, great whatever. They're just not. I mean, people want to think about Trump that way, but, like it's just your desperation and your hope. Like the people who are accepting Kamala, like all these delegates, they're just putting anybody in front of them. Like they're really getting closer and closer to just having AI candidates that they roll out there, and people just accept the one that I identify with this group, I identify as a Democrat, I identify a Republican, and whoever they put up there, you're going to cheer mindlessly. Because Kamala was never celebrated. Kamala was never like, the next one. Like she wasn't guaranteed the next president, the next Democratic superstar. She was never a superstar. She was, again, she didn't receive one vote because she had to withdraw because she was getting under 1% of the Democratic, voters, and none of the independents and none of the Republicans. And Biden made her vice president, but being vice president doesn't mean you're a superstar. It often means the opposite. And then she was just there as vice president. She didn't do anything to distinguish herself. They're trying to make it like, oh, Joe and Kamala did it together. And then she's like, well, no, you did that on your own, bro. Like, you senile MNFer. Like the whole thing. And so, like, you should realize that, they put these people out there and then they expect that you'll just get into them because you have no other choice because you feel like you have to vote. And it's like silly, if things were that desperate, they'd never leave it up to you. Like, why would you? Like, go into Walmart and look at people, just look around and see, like, would you leave the soul of the nation? Like, the nation doesn't have a soul, but that's still Biden's thing. Would you leave the future of America up to the citizens? Like, they can't even make good choices about what they're putting in their grocery basket, right? They can't even make good choices about their, just mundane little things in their life. They can't even manage their families and their, to make good decisions about what their kids do. And, their choices are bad choices. Like, you have a country of people making bad choices. And you're like, hey, we're on the brink of destruction. You guys better pick the right one. Like, they're not going to give you a choice. Why would they, right? They're not going to let you participate. They're just going to make it seem like you are. And the whole thing is to make you buy into it, right? And so, why would they buy into Kamala Harris? They'll be this excited about her. I mean, she's just unlikable. She's horrible. And, why would people buy into Trump being a possible leader? Because they're desperate and everyone kind of knows we're fucked, right? And so, with that in mind, let's get it. Okay, so first things first here, there's some leftover stuff from my last video. And so the last hour of the video, I had to rush the edit job, the last, hour and a half. And I listened to it. There didn't seem to be any, things that just were blatantly need to be edited out. But I listened to it today. But there were some pieces that I somehow missed, and I don't know what happened there. I didn't get the video done till like 7:30 at night. I was rushing to get it done so I could upload it. It's a 4-hour video. I uploaded it till 2 in the morning last night on Tuesday, and then put it up today on Wednesday, August 21st. And so one of the things, there was a little joke I wanted to do, but he's talking about why he ran for president here, and somehow I missed out on this thing.
I realized, had listened to the admonition of my dead son, I could not stay in the sidelines.
I love my dead gay son.
So there's that meme there, right?
So I ran.
And maybe it was in there. I could not find it, so I don't know what happened. If you guys saw it, then you could leave a comment saying that it wasn't there. But I thought that was a funny joke. And, him saying that, he had to run, even though he had Parkinson's, like they make it about like they're the only guy who can do the job. Like he was the only guy who could F up America. Like, like Trump is the same way. They make it sound like they're the only guy, right? And they're not. Like, these aren't great men. These aren't great. Kamala isn't a great woman. There's plenty of people who could screw up the whole, act and fake it and, posture and pose and do all the stuff that they do. There's millions of people who could pull this thing off, right? People with these kind of needy personalities that need a lot of validation from the outside world. It's not a real job, and no president's going to save the country or the world from, what's about to happen, right? But anyway, so I just want to add those things. There's some more things that I missed out on. It's a long speech, and it's going to be a long convention, so let's get into the other stuff here.
And then Vice President Harris in the coming days, tonight and tomorrow. What do you think they have to do in order to bring this home?
Well, I think Walz is still introducing himself to the country, which political junkies can forget. There's been a lot of buzz. There's been more memes than usual, but he is still a very new figure. And so I do think you're going to get sort of the vibe in the bio, which will be more familiar to us who've been watching the rallies.
Harris is an enigma as well. People don't know who she is because she isn't anything, right? I was just looking up her religion because or Dougie Fresh is going to talk about her religion, and it's like he says he goes to church with her, like, but there doesn't seem to be any, like, they don't know. The internet doesn't know what Kamala Harris's religion is. There's no definitive idea. She doesn't talk about it. May or may not believe in God. She goes to his Jewish, celebrations. He says he goes to church with her on Easter, but she doesn't have any like beliefs or characteristics. I mean, people don't know her. Like people don't know what she is. Like the Republicans want to paint her as a liberal and a communist or whatever, but that's not who she is, because she doesn't believe in anything. She's not passionate about any movement. She's not a visionary. She believes in Kamala, right? And so her personality is undefined as well. People don't know who Kamala is, right?
I think Harris has really got to build on this embrace. Sometimes we get politicians out here, and there's no better booking than the top of the Democratic Party on Morning Joe, and Chuck Schumer, he's on message, right? He's saying what you'd expect him to say. The difference is, best we can tell, it's true that they're unified. We've seen last cycles. We've seen the conventions where the leftovers from the primaries or the Sanders team or any number of disputes are visible. They're visible.
And by the way, none other than Karl Rove keeps saying that. He says Republicans usually fall in line, Democrats fall in love. This is the first time in his lifetime he's seen the Democratic Party fall in line while they're falling in love.
I like that. Exactly, Joe. And that's
Really good.
That's something
Wow, who is this Karl Rove? He sounds like a really great guy, right?
that can only be stage managed so much.
Right.
I've been to about 4 conventions, and you see them, those signs when you look up, and they have the "We Love Joe" sign at this time, and then they have well, that's coming from the party. Those are distributed. We get it. But
Yeah, they're just supposed to sit there and perform like monkeys. They know, oh, this must be the time I hold up this sign. Maybe they want me to hold up this sign. Everyone else is holding up this sign. I mean, it's so performative, political theater, and it's not cool, right? It delegitimizes anything, like it's manipulative and it's cult-like, right?
16, you had a lot of Sanders folks and delegates in anger over that primary. You had to remember the Democratic chair stepped down during the convention over leaked emails from a foreign power. We can relive all the nightmares. Right. This isn't that. Last night you had Bernie Sanders building on AOC the first night. You had Pritzker mentioning he's a billionaire. You had an executive from American Express who's close to Kamala Harris. You were stitching together the economic diversity of the party as well, and finding ways to not pretend they agree on everything, but as Schumer said, to show they're unified. And
so this idea of falling in line while falling in love, right? Like they're falling in love with their candidate, and that they're quoting Karl Rove and saying how great that is. Karl Rove, who was, turd blossom for George W. Bush. George W. Bush called him turd blossom because he came out of some, redneck type of backwards town in Texas somewhere. And so, the Republicans have fallen in love with Trump, which is bizarre and, all the things. And the Democrats have a candidate who is more or less an unknown, right? So what are they trying to say with Kamala? Well, she was a prosecutor, so that was one of her big things. And, people have criticized her record. And she's tried to brag about her record, but her record is not distinguishable between left and right. Like, she just seems to be doing things arbitrarily, that there doesn't seem to be like a liberal point of view for all of her decisions, or a conservative point of view. Like, she's all over the map. And she's all over the place in terms of her personality and the way people view her. She's over campaigning, pretending to be African American in one circumstance, or Indian with Mindy Keeling in another, right? She's embracing her ethnic heritage depending on where she is and what audience she's with, right? They're not really wanting to push her too much as a woman of color, because she has to win over white voters in these swing states, and she doesn't have any signature accomplishments. Like, there's things that she says are signature accomplishments, but they're very small, and they're not really, distinguishing her. And her personality's all over the place, right? Like, people don't know what she believes, or because she doesn't believe in anything. She's not passionate about one thing or another. She's not a liberal. She's not a moderate. She'll do whatever they tell her to do. Like, she's a mannequin. And so these are the things they're trying to push, in terms of the convention, that she's joyful because of her laugh. Now, her laugh is off-putting, and oftentimes she's the only one laughing, which is disturbing and weird, right? And so, and it's this cackle that stands out. Like, it's enough to where, Trump is mentioning it. So she laughs and she's very joyful, but over the top joy, right? Where she's laughing harder than everybody else at the table in the room. And it's not that funny. Like, well, she's not laughing at something that's hilarious, but she's laughing, from a deep place. And so she's just psyched that she's in front of the camera. The whole thing's funny. Like, she's, has a lot of dopamine for, her getting what she's gotten, right? She also was willing to prostitute herself, right? Use her sexuality to advance her career. And that's, is that being a feminist, or is that being an old-fashioned, what is that? Like, is that liberal? Is that conservative? Like, a liberal woman, do they approve of that? Conservative women, certainly not, but, it's old-fashioned, a woman marrying for money or something. But do feminists think it's okay to advance your career by using your sexuality? I think they do and they don't, right? And so, and women are very prickly about that kind of thing, like with other women. Women who work really hard and to achieve something, and then some woman sleeps around and gets the position and doesn't do anything, doesn't deserve it, right? Just, prostitutes herself. So that's her signature accomplishment. Like, her biggest, going from being an average, lawyer to being a statewide celebrity, politician, a prosecutor, happened because she dated a guy twice her age who was like a political kingmaker, and she was willing to do that, right? So, her husband, like, he's a weird Jewish lawyer, and what does that say about her when she's, her ethnic upbringing, right? So, like, people don't know who she is or what she believes as vice president, and, I've been covering her since 2019, like, I've known about her. And, I don't watch politics all that much, but they're not really able to define her. So they're saying she's a protector because of her job, right, as a prosecutor. So she's a prosecutor. They're putting her out there because that's a job she had, and they're trying to define her by that. Being joyful. Freedom is the word they're using, right, because, they're just looking at what Americans really want to hear right now, and the freedom is playing well. So they've taken these words and they're trying to, morph them into her life story. And in her life story, they're changing they're not acknowledging where she grew up, right? I showed you that in my last video. They wouldn't admit she was in, a lakefront property in Wisconsin. Don't even talk about her communist father, right? Like, they're leaving out, even though he's the one, they're trying to portray her as a black person, a black woman, and he's the black guy. Her mom is also the color black, but she's Indian, right? And so this is very consistent with the Indian population. And so, we have these, in the Sajmark tradition, we have these preceptors, right, that are trainers. They're not like a clergy. They're not like a priest class. They all have jobs. I did this for a while. I was a preceptor. Now I'm doing it for the Gratefullness meditation, just sort of like on my own because of, the need of the time. But, you do your job, and then people would come over your house and you'd give them these sittings, right? The guy who I started with was a Jewish hippie. He was a Jewish guy who now did Sajmark. He wasn't doing his religion anymore. And he was a hippie, like there's a lot of these boomer hippies. And he was my preceptor, and he was a little bit weird, and, he made some bad decisions. And people didn't, some people liked him, some people didn't, whatever. But he was great for me. He did a great job for me. I feel a great deal of gratitude for him, right? And he had went to India in the 1970s, right, to meet this guy, Babaji, in Shahjahanpur, which is a very rural city in North India where there isn't a lot of spiritual, ashrams and organizations, right? And a lot of gurus don't come from this area. But people would find him there. All these boomer hippies went up there and found him, right? And Babaji would sit there and smoke a hookah. He was very simple. And people would ask him, he'd sort of hold court. He'd sit in this, he had this like courtyard, it's kind of a almost like a little, kind of farming sort of house. And he would sit there. He had a chair, without any cushions, and he would smoke his hookah, and people would ask him questions, and he would work on them spiritually. And this guy once said to him, I really dislike my job. This guy told me the story, right, when I started, and he said, Babaji said, well, does it pay a good wage? And the guy said, yeah. I said, well, when you find a job that pays a better wage, quit that one and do the new job, right? And, the guy was dissatisfied with this answer because, he's an American. Well, then Babaji went on to say, this cleaning will be over soon. And, what he meant by that was a cleaning was, well, for the guy said, the guy said 5 years. That the cleaning of this job, whatever he had to go through to burn off what we call some scars, impressions, to move forward and also learn things, right, to develop your career was 5 years for him, right, for this particular cleaning. Looking at it as a spiritual cleaning, is part of the system. And so what I understood from this, and it was part of the philosophy and also the culture there, that a job is for work. You don't have your dream jobs, especially in that country, where just getting a job, right, getting a good job, getting in a spot in a university, getting in a spot in a good high school, right, getting academically, in a situation where you can eventually get one of these jobs is imperative, because of the competition level and, 1.3 billion people there and just the culture, right? The people there don't have the same issues with authority as we do in America. In fact, it's the exact opposite. There was a French woman who gave me, she was a preceptor, and she was near me, like the next flat over, the next apartment complex over. And she was going to these corporations. They started to roll this like heartfulness debacle stuff out before anybody knew how bad it was. At these corporations where they'd start like 300 people all at once and introduce them to the meditation, right? And they did interviews with the people there. A lot of them, they were young people, right? And she would ask them, like, what do you guys, want to get out of life? What are your goals? And a lot of times they'd answer, I just want to make my parents proud, right? And as a French woman, certainly as an American man, that was foreign to us, right? How many people would say, oh, I just want to make my parents proud in America? That just doesn't exist. And the influence that your family has, the enmeshment there in that country, and a lot of these countries, but India's, one of the ones that's, the most prolific. And they have this influence over you. And, getting a good job and being submissive to your boss and authority. A boss is looked upon as some higher elevated soul, a Mahatma, right? Mahatma Gandhi. It means that somebody who's a higher soul, like a saint-like person. We would go there to the movies. There was malls, they had malls that were very American. And me and my kids would go out, usually go out to dinner and go see a movie. And sometimes the movie we'd see in the afternoon, and then we'd eat afterwards, right? And they had very modern, American type movie theaters, but they would have ads before and during the middle of the movie. And oftentimes the ads were political. And the politician would come on, and the people would cheer, and they would applaud. The politicians were like celebrities. And there was a woman there who got caught being completely corrupt. She had the equivalent of $10 million. She was an old Bollywood actress who was a big politician. She was like the mayor of Chennai, a big city. And she was very popular because she gave a lot of free shit out to the people, right? And when I was there in India, she had been arrested. And this guy wrote up this corruption charges that was as thick as a phone book, right? Like a big, thick binder full of corruption. And most of it was because she had assets. I think it was up to maybe $30 million, which in India is it's over 60 rupees at the time to $1. So we're talking about, millions, hundreds of millions of rupees that she had no way to, in her bank account, that she had no way to justify it. Like these politicians here, like Dianne Feinstein having, a salary of $300,000 and she dies with $110 million of assets. Where did it all come from, right? And so this woman was, put up on corruption charges, and there were riots because she was so popular, with a lot of the different peoples, right? And so, like, they looked up to her, and, like, they were, I mean, we weren't allowed to go out of the ashram because it was dangerous, people who were foreigners, right, because of the riots. And then later on, my family had a visa crisis, so we had to go into the center of Chennai, and they were doing her trial, and a corrupt judge dismissed the charges, and he wrote up everything about the dismissal on one piece of paper. Right? There was a phone book worth of evidence, but he dismissed all of it in one piece of paper, right, because there's corruption. But they have these, these people are celebrities there. Like if you're in charge of the water, you got a government job where you're in charge of the water for the whole city. You have like fans, like a fan base and gurus, like you're like a little guru there, right? Because they have a whole different attitude towards authority. I talked to some people, some young people that were, questioning the government, some things. I said, I want to set up like a truther network. And they became very concerned, and they said, oh, they'll kill you, right? Because they worship authority there in ways that we don't even understand in America, right? Like they have these arranged marriages. And the way it would work is like, your guru, or whoever your like kind of priest would be, or your minister there, whatever that equivalent is to that. And more often your parents and their financial advisor. And parents of the same caste would get together and look at a suitable marriage based in, the economic interests and suitability to your belief system, right? Because you weren't going to go against your belief system and your parents, your whatever they are, right? And these women are kind of mistreated there, especially when they're younger and it's kind of unsafe for them in various ways. But then when they get into their 40s and 50s, they just like run things, right? They have this position, the Lakshmi of the family. And they're just like, they're given these privileged positions. And we'd see at the ashram, like in the ashram in Georgia, it would be like 2 a.m. There'd be these shared rooms. Like people would just come in after their flight, and sometimes they'd be get in late, from a flight. And these women would come in at 2 a.m. and turn the lights on. Like everyone would be sleeping, and they'd loudly put away their stuff, and they just felt entitled, like they were in these positions. We were watching a movie one time, and like a group of corporate people came in, right? Like these young corporate people, and they were kind of loud, and the movie was 10 minutes in, like going in, like it might have been like a Mission Impossible. And all of a sudden we hear this old Indian woman go, "What is wrong with you?" Right? Loud, like really loud. She sit right behind me. Me and my son, I sit on the end. My son and I look at each other like, this is going to be great. And she called them the R word. Like, what are you, Ard? Like, what's wrong with you? Do you not have a mother? Like, she's saying these things. Like, it went on for like 5 minutes. Like, and they're just sitting there taking it. Like, this woman's just cussing them out. And they're just taking it because you just don't, talk back to authority, right? And so these Indians would be hired in America, and they latch onto a company, and they just bought into the company bullshit, right? They have those company orientations, and you're sitting there going, oh my fucking God, I just got to get through that. They were taking notes. That's why they do well in the spelling bees, because they just submit to authority. You see these Indians who become Christians, and they're the most devout Christians. People like Bobby Jindal and some of these, Indian Republicans, they buy into the rhetoric and they actually believe it. Like they don't, question the authority. They're company men because that's their culture, right? Like I got into it with a guy, because of some bogus, like fake, event that happened there. You can see this movie Hotel Mumbai, they had their own kind of, big event there. And because of that, the perpetrators used cell phones. They made it so that you could only buy a SIM card that would last 3 months, and it was a stupid rule. But the visas went for 6 months. So, every time we had these cell phones, I would have to get a SIM card, like halfway through our stay there before we had to change the visas and all those things. And then I'd have to change all the numbers because it would come with a new number. And I was arguing with the guy, and he was just reading off of a script. And I'm saying, you just realize you're reading off a script and it doesn't really even apply. And I want you to just admit that this is screwed up, like I just was saying to the guy. And the guy just couldn't do it. Like, he just read from the script. He was a company man, right? And so these Indians come to America, and they'll get up at 3 a.m, plus they have green cards, so they're employed. Their stay here in America is based in their employment. And they'll work 60 hours when American would only work 40, and they'll just do everything, that much harder. And they just believe whatever the company says because they link themselves to these authority figures, right? They don't have critical thinking skills. They don't question things, at least in public. And they just, put out whatever's being told to them. And that's Kamala's upbringing. Her mother is a little bit more radical, maybe. She was wearing Western clothing, and she seemed to be a little bit more liberal and things. And she married a guy who was a communist, although there's some communist element in India as well, so that's not completely foreign. But her mom might have been a little bit, more open-minded and a little bit more Americanized. But that's how they roll. They don't question authority, and they just believe in it. They have these arranged marriages, and I saw it, and like there was a time where Master Chargy was just standing, was giving sitting there with a bunch of people. There's probably 50 people, and a young woman got up and said, Master, can you find me a husband? Like, who can arrange a marriage? And he said, hey, that you over there, and he pointed to some guy sitting there, and they got married. And like these marriages, sometimes like he actually went outside the normal arranged marriages where he'd arrange marriages between regions and castes. And there was a couple, I was talking to, and the guy was military and the woman was like a doctor, and they got this arranged marriage, and the woman was like really funny storyteller. And this guy was really aggressive and kind of like, we hung out a little bit. And the guy, she goes, he's like a madman. She's talking about her husband. Like she said, there was a pilot, and this guy drove a motorcycle, and he goes, the pilot was riding on the back of his motorcycle, and he came to me and said, I'll never do that again. Because the guy drove like a maniac, right? And one time the guy drove, it was flooded, and he drove his motorcycle into a creek, and he's holding on to the motorcycle and holding on to a root for over a half hour. And, they're all used to warm temperatures there. And the water was cold, and his kidney got inverted. And this woman's a doctor, right? And the guy wouldn't get treatment. His kidneys turned sideways because he's in this cold water. Finally, he let go of the motorcycle. And so she goes, you got to go see Master. So he goes into the ashram, and he goes, and the security guard stops him, and he slaps the security guard. And she goes in, and she's like, she's with him. She goes, Master, this guy's an animal. I don't know how you arranged a marriage with him. He's an animal. He's slapping people. And she's telling these stories, right? And her family didn't want her to marry him, and his family didn't want to marry them. They're different parts of the country. And she was very, soft, sophisticated, educated woman. This guy was some brute military guy. He was very funny too. He would just sit here, and she'd be telling the stories. And both families got guns, and they were going to have some kind of feud with it. And guns aren't like easily to come by there. They're not, they don't have Second Amendment over there. And so, but these marriages would work because they just believed it was fate. Like your boss, your mean boss was your fate, and this is what God gave you. And they have this attitude. There's some passivity there, right? And so they don't have opinions. Like they don't have critical thinking skills. So it's not taught, and in fact, their education system. We were told this by a principal there, that the testing is so strenuous and so important, and the competition is so. I talked about this before in my last video, that they just give them the questions. They get them to memorize the questions, and then they get them to memorize the answers, but they don't know what they're saying. So they know what the test is, and it's all about memorization, right? And so it's like a horrible education system because it's really based in how good you can memorize things and how hard you're willing to work at this kind of memorizing 400 questions and answers or whatever it is, right? But they really stress success, and to be successful, you have to just, buy into the system and buy into the corporate bullshit and buy into whatever it is, right? And success is pressured. And I know Kamala has that. You can see it in her, right? Like she defines herself by her success. So it isn't by what she believes or what she cares about or what demographic she identifies with. It's just that she's got these positions, and she's rising up in a higher level, right? And doing anything she can to maximize her, her accomplishments, and like how she's smiling and like giddy, like she's like this is her wedding day or like she's a prom queen, and she's being celebrated, but no one knows what the fuck she believes because she doesn't believe in anything. She doesn't have any defining characteristics. She just has these, she believes in, getting the next job and doing whatever she's got to do that job, like with no moral compass or any of these other things. So she's like kind of the worst, because at least in the Indian people, they believe in God and they have some, it's based in their religious beliefs, and they all have it's a very spiritually based country, and part of it is, knowing that God's inside of you, and God is, everything that's happening in your life is coming from God. And that's the good part of their culture. That's what makes them very susceptible to spiritual life and spirituality. And she doesn't have that part, so she just has the other part, the being a company woman and submitting to any sort of authority as long as she's taken care of, without any any God in that. And so she's like kind of a dangerous person in that way, right? Like her dad was a communist, a Marxist, and she doesn't embrace the spiritual element and the religious aspect. Like she doesn't even have a religion, right? She didn't grow up as a Christian. Her mom wasn't Christian. She's not a Christian, right? She's not a Hindu. Never talks about that. Like never talks about, I don't think her mom was necessarily religious. Her mom was a scientist, so probably not, and probably became more Americanized. Her husband's Jewish. She celebrates some Jewish holidays with him, but she certainly hasn't converted to that. Like she doesn't believe in God. Like she's not a godly person. Like I don't ever heard her mention God, but if she does, like it's not true. It's just she's doing it as a performative thing, right? And so she doesn't have any connection to divinity. She's not a liberal. She's not a conservative. She's not a capitalist. She's not a communist. She's whatever she has to be to retain the position she has, and she'll submit to whatever authority figures and handlers and do whatever they tell her, just so she can keep going. And like she's almost like a Manchurian candidate in that way, right? Okay, so like I said, one of the big things they're pushing is joy. And I would say on night 2, this was their main theme more than anything else. So they had this rapper Common there. Every day that I get up, I trace the sky, draw with the most high. So they're putting, they're bringing in rap. And like, I don't think Kamala's into rap. This is a cowboy for Kamala. And again, they didn't know this person. So they're out there dancing, right? This is their joyful celebration. They're trying to make this into something joyful. They don't know who Kamala is. Let's see what this person says.
Told I was not eligible for any treatment at that point. The Dobbs decision was official and abortion was banned. In 2021.
So then they're like, all right, the tragedy of the banned abortions. They go from joy to, boy, is it a bummer we can't kill our fetuses. It's pretty joyful till then. But I want to get to this. Here's this dude. I don't know who he is.
2019. But
he's a retired Teamster. This guy, I don't know who he is.
With these projects, we're ushering in a brighter future, a future in which everyone has clean air to breathe.
Clean air breathes, the environmental stuff there. But then they bring, and I want to get to this part where here's this guy.
Alaska, how do you cast your vote?
This guy's hilarious.
Alaska's motto is North to the future. And that's exactly where Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are going to take us. A future full of opportunity for everyone. As a teacher, a union member, and a proud black woman.
Boom. And an Alaskan.
It is my...
So they go through the thing there. This guy is just hilarious.
Cast your vote.
Mr. Secretary, the great state of California
is going to defer.
Passes at the...
They pass it this time. They're passing.
Off of the rolls and making it harder to vote. But y'all, when we send Kamala Harris to the White House, she'll fight for our freedom to vote, our reproductive freedom.
So a fight for freedom of vote and reproductive freedom. There they are, the candidates.
And our freedom to
This is Georgia, and this guy, I think that's Georgia.
The great state of Illinois, the prairie state, home of 4 presidents, including President Barack Obama.
Woo!
The birthplace of skyscrapers and the...
So they made a big deal about their announcements where, you know, some of them stood out. I have to find them. I want to go back to Georgia. I'm not sure which state this is. I think it's...
The first female governor of our beautiful island of Guam.
Guam.
The home of the indigenous Chamorro people.
Yeah! Woo! Chamorro people, woo!
And where America's day begins.
Woo!
And we proudly cast our 12 votes to the next first female president of the United States
The next first female president.
of America.
Woo! Viva Kamala. Or this guy right here. This is the thing I just want to show you.
President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
Connecticut. I missed the next one.
100,000 Americans, where millions have worked for jobs and...
Woo! Oh, here's this guy right here. This guy comes out.
Kamala Harris.
Boom, look at the delegates just piling up. Again, she received no votes, right? So the whole thing's a farce. Okay, this is at the Georgia thing. Georgia's on the clock.
Georgia, how do you cast your vote?
Georgia, how do you cast your votes? It's me, Skippy. Whoa, so this guy's coming out right there. They're trying to make this pop here. Right?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight to officially nominate Kamala Harris for president. Five, get loud, another round of shots. DNC, turn out for what? Turn out for what?
Like this whole place like goes crazy, right? That annoying ass song. I don't know if that's the guy who actually sings it or just probably is. Probably he's from Georgia.
Hey, turn out for what?
Boom, look at them go. And they're just going crazy.
Turn up for what?
Turn up for what? Crazy eyes, just... Dude. Remember she was pushing health food. We'll get into that because I want to talk about that. Like she had an organic garden, which is a good thing. She had an organic garden in the White House. That's a positive thing. Positive example. I like that, right? I think that's good. But there's problems with it because there always is. With, you know, politicians and Michelle Obama. Celebration with Iowa. There's nothing celebratory about Iowa. Kansas. They're playing some Kansas music.
Who have contributed to America's greatness. We are the birthplace of Harriet Tubman. We are the birthplace of Thurgood Marshall. We are the birthplace of Frederick Douglass.
Boom.
We are the place where soldiers defended our freedoms in Baltimore and also in Antietam, and the home of thousands of veterans who call Maryland home.
That's Maryland. It's Maryland. It's also a place where they have this guy.
So let the celebration continue.
Who's that freaking guy? I gotta go back. That's I didn't see this guy before.
Votes for our future president, Miss Kamala Harris.
Boom. Boom. So here's this guy, Skippy.
Now tonight is a celebration of love, a celebration of life. So let the celebration continue.
They got a DJ. In Missouri.
Missouri, how do you cast your vote?
He was already reading his, and he didn't even know.
Mr. Secretary, I'm Russ Carnahan, Chairman of Missouri Democrats. We're home to Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs.
Woo! 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 They should have Patrick Mahomes' wife there going, "Let's go! Let's go!"
And hated on us and thought we were going to lose this day? Yes, I did! I want to tune in and say all those people that doubted us and hated on us and thought we were going to lose this day? Yes, I did! I want to tune in and...
Why isn't she there? Why is she not there? You guys dropped the ball.
To common sense leaders like President Truman.
Okay, so I want to get to West Virginia. Well, here's that guy, Spike Lee.
Mr. Secretary, my name is Henry Garrido.
Garrido. They got Garrido. They got Hoochall, that Katie Hoochall. They got that dude's giving a speech. We got Chuck Schumer. It was brutal.
I'm from the great state of New York.
Woo! New York sucks.
Unions not only built the Empire State, they built a strong middle class across this country.
Yeah, they did. New York did all that.
Are still here. The 7 council fires are still here. Let me tell you what a Kamala Harris presidency will mean for me, my friends, and my community. More importantly, more opportunities, more good-paying jobs, better access to health care, and equality.
Yeah, there's no evidence that that's going to happen, bro. There's zero evidence.
The House of Representatives with 6 hard-working Congress members and majorities in the General Assembly. We also are proud
You're not sticking with the party theme. It's a party.
to be represented by 25,000 hard-working, mostly union workers who build freedom.
Woo! They build freedom. They got union workers are in charge of building freedom.
Who build freedom by building aircraft carriers and submarines.
Oh yeah, that's not freedom. Those are weapons of war. You fuck. Right? They build freedom by building these instruments of mass death.
Senator Weiner.
Virginia, for this year, we're going to return Tim Kaine to the United States Senate.
Woo! Remember that weird MFer?
Our Commonwealth of Virginia is proud to cast all 119 votes for the next president, Kamala Harris.
Woo! Woo! Washington! Woo! Washington, there it is. Where's Washington? It's a party. It's a party. Okay, let's move.
How do you cast your vote?
How do you cast your vote, Washington? Woo! Woo! Washington, woo!
From the amber waves of grain and verdant origins of eastern Washington.
Woo!
To the iconic waters of the Salish.
Woo!
Washington stands proud.
Okay, so let's get to West Virginia here. Oh, here. There's some great stuff that happens here. So, this is the one that stood out to me. I didn't see a lot of these that I showed you. But this is one I was like, oh, yeah, they're really going for it here.
Ready to battle. Because I will not, I repeat, I will not let everything I've fought for be taken away by Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, exactly. West Virginia. They're not standing for that shit. But this girl here, watch this girl. Some kind of hippie West Virginia. I don't know, she's got her magenta hair there.
My name there.
Yes, exactly, Catherine. Go for it.
I am 18 years old.
She's 18 years young.
And I am the youngest delegate from West Virginia.
Exactly. I got 6 kids.
I'm suited up and ready for battle because I will not let my freedoms and my future be taken away by Donald Trump.
Boom. Bring it. Like, watch them do this in unison.
That's why we're proud to cast West Virginia's 24 delegates for the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Woo! Woo! Now it's a party. The old and the young, the black and the white, they got it all going on here in West Virginia. And then they go right to Wisconsin here.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is DJ Cassidy.
DJ Cassidy bringing it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready. So they're doing jump around for Wisconsin. And they go right to the frickin' cheeseheads from West Virginia. West Virginia to Wisconsin. Look at them all jumping around. Look at them. Look at them dancing. Like, it's a party. Like, they're really going for it. Like, you know, for a candidate that earned no votes, like, the democratic process didn't work. For this, you know, they voted for Joe Biden, and so in a way they voted for Kamala Harris because she was on the ticket, but not really. She didn't receive any votes in the primary. And so they got rid of that senile MFer because the overwhelming majority saw he was unfit for office. And then they came in with this shit, right?
Wisconsin, how do you cast your vote?
How do you guys vote, Wisconsin?
Thank you, Badger, Jason Ray, for all your good work.
And why don't you talk about Kamala being from Wisconsin?
As a proud governor of the great state of Wisconsin, we're home of the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, did Packers play for Wisconsin? I didn't know that. Maybe the cheesehead should have.
We're home of the Wisconsin Badgers.
Yeah.
We're home of the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Milwaukee Bucks, as well as U.S. Senator, our best U.S. Senator, Tammy Baldwin.
Yeah, Tammy Baldwin, she rocks.
And our great congressional folks, Gwen Moore and Mark Pocan. I'm here because I'm jazzed as hell.
He's jazz as hell.
Announce that Wisconsin cast 1 vote present and 94 votes were for, whoa, where are we at?
Whoa, ho. For ho? Did you say ho?
Got me going here. Former Wisconsinite, former state, oh my God. I love you, Jody.
Yeah, he's having a Joe Biden moment. It's okay. We're used to this with Joe Biden.
94 votes for
Joey.
I'll get there, Jason, I'll get there. 94 votes for former Wisconsinite, Vice President, and our next President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
Kamala, Jesus Christ, you didn't even get her name right. She used to live in your freaking state.
And we deliver 81 votes for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Whoa, you did it. Okay, so, Skippy here. This is Kamala Harris's official YouTube channel. I have both the CNN feed and her feed up here. And so, but the feed is the same. So the networks get the feed from from what they want to show from the official DNC. They don't have their own cameras. And so they have to, they have their own cut in where they cut in, and sometimes they don't cover a speech here or there, where Kamala Harris is going to cover all of it here. But the official feed that they put on CNN is the same feed as this one, which is, the same images of the crowd and I mean, all this stuff is managed by the people who are running the DNC. So after the roll call, here he goes.
Thank you to everyone who participated in our celebratory roll call. Delegates, please know how critical you are to this process, both now and earlier this month when we conducted our virtual roll call.
So they did that for Kamala. But this is the first time they've ever had a candidate that didn't receive any votes. You know, it's a democracy. And so they were all saying, all these pundits, many of them Democrats, people like AOC, that it won't be legitimate if you just install a candidate, especially when you're running to save democracy, that Trump is the threat to democracy and not you. And they both are. You know, Trump has said he wants to be a dictator. I mean, he said those words. Trump has his, you know, he's dictatorial in his, I mean, he's a CEO and he's used to, hey, Mr. Trump, yes, Mr. Trump, what can we do for you, Mr. Trump? How can we serve you, Mr. Trump, right? He's had yes men around him, boosting his massive ego, and he's not, you know, he wasn't good at the political process, right? Like he really isn't good at passing legislation. Like he doesn't know how to do that, right? I mean, there's things that being somebody who's an outsider, you never learn to do, and you don't build those relationships. So he had no relationships in the Senate and the House, and other than bullying those people with his rabid fan base, bullying the Republicans, he really couldn't do any of that work, right? And so, you know, he was a threat to democracy in his own way. But democracy doesn't work, and it's a joke anyhow. It's all fixed and rigged. So it's all those things, right? But Kamala Harris didn't receive any votes, which is significant to the official story. Like, I don't give a fuck about it, but, you know, because, like, it doesn't like, make the process any more sleazy to me, you know, any more corrupt, because I already know it's corrupt, right? But to the people who believe in democracy in the Democratic Party, it's a big red flag and, something that they're just expecting the American people are going to accept, right? Especially since Kamala didn't have a fan base. Like, she didn't have, like, a lot of Kamala fans. And so if she had run, I don't think she would have even come in, like, third. I mean, I don't even know. Even with, you know, if they had done the primary, I mean, Kennedy would have beaten her, right? And I would assume Gavin Newsom would beat her. And so, you know, I don't even know about some of these other ones, right? Like, when she, you know, she did so poorly beforehand. And they didn't have to pick her, but now they have to vote for her. They don't have a choice. And democracy is supposed to be choice, right? They're supposed to be the party of freedom of choice, right? The party of abortion choice. But then she does this.
I am thrilled to reaffirm Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee for President of the United States.
Okay, Skippy. I mean, the people that are rolling out here, right?
Pursuant to the convention rules of procedure, Vice President Kamala Harris has been invited to make an acceptance speech, which she will give.
She was invited? Oh, God, they gave her an invitation? Wow, how lucky is she?
On Thursday, August 22nd.
Oh, Thursday she'll do it. Woo!
But now, a special surprise. It's my pleasure to introduce our party's official nominee for President of the United States, live from my home state of Wisconsin.
He's from Wisconsin.
President Kamala Harris.
So there's freedom up here, right? Boom. Some Beyonce. Here she comes out. Boom. Look at her touch her heart. So Michelle Obama did the same movement. Her heart, you know, her non-existent heart here. Look at her. Like, she's got the gurgle lines here. She's got that gurgle stuff working down there. But the joy, look at her eyes light up. Like she's having her prom queen moment here. Call her bulletproof. Okay, so they're trying to raise the roof here. And like where's the excitement coming from? Because you don't know what her policies are. I mean, her policies are Joe Biden's policies, but you don't know what she believes. You don't know who she is. you don't really know anything about her. And she's not very likable. And Tim Walz is weird, and he's kind of like a pathological liar. He's done some, things that are almost, very similar. Not almost, they're similar to Joe Biden's. Like remember I said, she's got an old white guy that's kind of like a Joe Biden clone. And, he's going to be a Midwest guy, somebody who might appeal to those working class white people. But he's already lied numerous times over silly stuff, right? Saying he carried weapons of war. And when he didn't, he was in the National Guard. He never saw like a day of active duty in the middle, in a war zone. And so there's all these things, that they don't know either one of these people. They're talking about how they don't know Tim Walz, but they don't know Kamala either, right? So, I've already covered that, my, voiceover, my long voiceover about this. And so, well, where's the passion coming from? Because they're not Trump? America's down on Biden for his economy and for the border. She's running on something where Biden would have lost because of his age, because of the border, and because of the economy. They have the abortion. That's their big thing. That's their big selling, point. But, the rest of it, it's not, Look at her. Woo! Let's turn this off so I don't get copyrighted. There she is. They're walking around. She's enjoying. Woo! All right, here she goes. And so David Axelrod was saying that the first night was kind of really poorly done. They didn't get the speeches done timely enough so that Joe Biden would be there, hours. He was going to be after his bedtime, which is like 8. But he didn't get on until like 11:30 and went to 12:30. And the people that would like him, that watch him, are old people. And maybe they don't know how to, TiVo something or, tape it or whatever, or watch on the internet. So, they missed out on his big moment. And Joe Biden, like having to go that late in the evening, that late at night. It's just, they were just, that was a huge mistake on their part. And they had a lot of logistical errors and things like this, technical issues, apparently. Because I didn't watch the whole thing, but he said it was not a great night. And this night was supposed to be much better, in his opinion. And part of it was that she's here where Trump had his convention, where he put on the bandage and all that stuff, right? And so there's all those things going on. She's like, thumbing her nose at Trump, but like it's so hostile anyway, by going to where he had his convention.
And hello to everyone joining us from exciting Chicago.
It's exciting Chicago.
Well, they just completed their roll call.
And I got no votes, but they all elected me anyway, so that's cool. Democracy, 2024.
And they have nominated Coach Walz and me to be the next Vice President and President of the United States of America.
No way. No one saw that coming. It was in a shocking moment.
For believing in what we can do together.
Exactly. We're going to do it together. I don't really have a platform yet, but just believe that it's going to be great when I have one.
We are so honored to be your nominees. This is a people-powered campaign, and together we will chart a new way forward.
She has that cadence that they use a lot in her commercials. And it's just bumper stickers. She just says bumper sticker shit. Because she doesn't have things. She doesn't have a passion. Like they have these made-up stories, and I'm going to show you. They did another one of those infomercials for her. And they do one for Dougie Fresh. I'm going to show you. Those are great. A lot of great things here on day 2.
A future for freedom, opportunity of optimism and faith. So to everyone in Chicago and across America, thank you. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you. And you're going to hear from our wonderful second gentleman shortly. I'll see you in 2 days.
Remember that time that guy banged his nanny? We're going to talk about that.
Chicago.
Woo! He's so happy, right? That cackle. Okay, so I'm editing on Thursday, August 22nd. This stuff happened on Tuesday. And I was going to segue into them bringing in the dope in a Navarro, who's really dopey. But instead, we're going to get to that. But here we're going to insert this little, Kamala took the plunge here. So I just happened to be editing and listening and reading my comments. And one of my viewers, this is where the comment's really helpful, says, Kamala did the... well, she was in Milwaukee, right? So this, I'm editing this thing where she's giving this, this speech from Milwaukee to the DNC. And she's in Trump's, where Trump had his, rally. And they have all the freedom signs, right? These freedom signs they're handing out. These are the words they want to associate with her. Freedom, joy, and then she's a protector and these things, right? These other words. But freedom and joy, some of these other things I've already forgotten. But here it is. She did it. She took the plunge here.
And that is how we fulfill the promise of America. The promise of America.
So this is from Forbes' YouTube channel, and they just have all these glitches all the time. I mean, it makes no sense, but they have them. I don't know why.
And it is that promise of America.
Wait, what?
We need a medical assistant here.
Oh, man, she just saw it. She just happened to see. Well, it's amazing how these politicians, it's like they have spidey sense. These politicians and their spidey sense.
Okay. We need a nurse. We need a medic here, please.
Someone get a medic?
Let's make a path. Let's make a path if y'all don't mind.
Look at her take control. Man, she's good at this.
Path to right here. Let's just create a path to right here.
Forbes has been covering this, right? With now, Trump did it, and then Walz did it twice, and now Kamala's doing it. While she's, this is a big event, right? This is like while the DNC is going on, and she's going to fly the DNC. Her husband's giving a speech tonight. I'm editing. It's Thursday. She's going to give the speech tonight. I'm editing. This it's Thursday, but this happened on Tuesday, and then I'm going to cover the stuff that happened on Wednesday today. This video is going to hopefully go up tonight. But this is like a big time for her, and they rolled out this fake shit, right?
Let's create a path, guys, and thanks for looking out each other. Look out for each other, but let's create.
That's what Doug. That's what Walz said, right? The neighbors look out for each other, right?
Out for the medics. Okay.
Woo!
Okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
We are. We're going to be okay. See, I'm handling things. I'm compassionate. See, this is everything gets thrown out the window because Trump did the same stuff when you pull fake shit like this, right? You no longer have any legitimacy when you do things like that. When you have staged shills in the audience to make you look good, then you're not good, right? You're just performative. You're not a good person. You're scripting something to make yourself look like you're a good person, a good leader. And you guys see in my video, I'll add this to it at the end of it, but you throw out any claims of being legitimate when you do shit like this, right? A completely staged, false, rehearsed thing.
All right.
Woo! Look at her.
Okay. Okay. This is who we are, right? This is what we're about, looking out for each other. The thing.
Yeah, exactly. It just worked out right there, an event right at this rally that shows you who we are. How we labor looking out for neighbor.
We care about each other.
We care about each other, exactly. See how caring I am? Look at how effing caring I am. I'm the most caring person in the world. I'm the most compassionate.
Truly understanding what love thy neighbor means.
Oh, she's bringing in a Bible quote. I've been talking about her.
About In the face of a perfect stranger, seeing a neighbor, understanding what that love of each other means.
Well, it's just great that, something that you're highlighting as part of your Walls campaign thing and all this stuff that you're doing. And you just delivered. Boom, kaboom, kaboom. Bring it, Kamala. I didn't believe before. Now I'm a true believer that you're fake as F, right? Okay, so let's get back to where they're segueing into Anna Navarro, who's hosting tonight. But I am going to cover later how the internet doesn't really know what Kamala's religion is. And she has a weird religious history with her family. And Dougie Fresh is going to bring it up, and I got a little clip I'm going to insert into that because I did further research. But I say there that I've never heard her talk about the Bible, right? And she really didn't do it there, but she brought up love thy neighbor. Then all of a sudden, she's never talked about it. Like she's never talks about her religion. They say that she's a Baptist, but she grew up as a Hindu. She's married to a Jewish guy, this whole thing, right? So I'm going to come back to that. But here, like she says, love thy neighbor, all of a sudden she's kind of semi, making reference to the Bible. But she's clearly not a believer, right? All right, let's get back to it here. They did a high five. And so that was their big thing, right? And then they go back to the
Please
DNC.
welcome TV personality, loud and proud Latina, Anna Navarro.
Anna Navarro. Like, she is really stupid. She's like the stupidest person on The View. Sherry Shepherd, giving Sherry Shepherd a run for her money. But they're all stupid, right? Meghan McCain was no rocket scientist, and she was, they're all bad, right? But she's like over emotional and goofy. You see the little Kamala Harris down here, right?
Buenas noches, Chicago.
Okay.
So tell me, are you excited?
I excited.
Wow.
She probably doesn't even have an accent.
What energy, what a moment. I have to tell you, I will never stop being the little refugee girl who came to this country at the age of 8.
Exactly. She hasn't grown up and changed and matured at all. She's an 8-year-old.
Thank you for inviting me to be here.
You're welcome. I didn't really know I did anything, but you're welcome.
Welcome to the second night of the Democratic National Convention. Let me tell you about the Kamala Harris I know.
CNN was talking. Their pundits were talking while she was talking, and she's a pundit on their show. She's an expert that comes on CNN occasionally when she's not on The View being stupid. And they didn't even show her speech, right? Like, I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty, like, kaboom.
She is legitimately a joyful, optimistic leader. She cares about policy, yes, but she also cares about people and how that policy affects real people.
Okay, so where's your evidence? Like, I haven't seen any of that. Like, what are you saying here? Joyful, yeah, we see her cackling a lot. Okay, she's joyful. She does laugh a lot. Seems kind of happy. But her happiness, like I said, makes other people unhappy. So there's that. But yeah, she's joyful. I've seen no evidence about her caring for people, right? Did she care for the kids that Joe Biden droned? No. Did she speak up against the massacre in Palestine? Not really. Only way to appease the rioters and the liberal young voters that she's trying to cajole into voting for her. She doesn't. So there's been no evidence that she cares about people. Zero. Like, she's just the opposite, right? She, she cares about herself. Yeah, that's true. Just like Trump does. And so, like, they're just make-up stuff. Like, nobody even knows who she is, right?
Not just the members of Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, Bob.
You know what else? Kamala Harris, she likes dogs.
Oh, my God, she likes dogs. Boom. Exactly.
And my dog, Cha-Cha, likes her.
Cha-Cha. Look at Cha-Cha. She probably dropped Cha-Cha after the photo was over.
Dogs are good judges of character. So are cats. We cannot elect a president who does not like dogs or hangs around with people who shoot them.
Boom, exactly.
Now,
Woo, 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 just give it to him.
let's be serious.
Oh, that was jokes?
Donald Trump and his minions call Kamala a communist. I know communism. I fled communism from Nicaragua when I was 8 years old.
It's good. Can you say Nicaragua 3 times? Nicaragua.
I don't take it lightly.
She don't take it lightly. She takes it from...
And let me tell you what communist dictators do. And it's never just for one day. They attack the free press. They call them the enemy of the people. Like
Okay, the free press is completely owned by corporations. And so they are the enemy of the people, right? Not that the politicians are, not Trump isn't the savior. But the free press is, I mean, you know, we know.
Ortega does in Nicaragua. They put their unqualified relatives in cushy government jobs.
Exactly. Like, you know, if they date a woman for like 10 years and give her a job she doesn't deserve, even though she's only because she's half the age of the guy, you know, something like that. Unqualified people like that who get positions they don't deserve because they put on knee pads and they service a powerful man. You know, that thing? Like people like that, right? Like that? You mean like that, Navarro?
So they can get rich of their positions. Like
exactly. Kamala Harris got rich off of her positions.
Castros do in Cuba. And they refuse to accept legitimate elections when they lose and call for violence to stay in power, like Maduro is doing right now in Venezuela.
Boom, exactly. She's fired up.
Now you tell me something. Do any of those things sound familiar?
Ooh, like, I don't know. Let's scratch my head and think about this for a while. Where are you going with this, Brainiac? Like, I mean, it's too complex for me to figure out.
Is there anybody running for president who reminds you of that?
Is it Trump? Ooh.
And I know one thing, it's not Kamala Harris.
Okay.
That is not the American...
Because we don't know shit about her. Even though her dad was an actual Marxist.
The America we love. It's not the land of freedom we treasure. Last night, we heard President Biden say that he loves his job, but he loves his country more. Every American needs to love our country more.
Yeah, I don't love our country. What are you talking about? You mean our government? What do you mean? The land? You know what? The lifestyle? What is it about our country? The name? Like, what are you talking about? Like, people say they love the country. You know, it's a superficial love at best. Because when you love something, you know it. Like, you know what you love, right? You see its essence. To really love something, you have to, you can't, like, you could say you love somebody that you just, like, love at first sight, but you don't, if you don't know them, you know, there might be a soul connection, sure, something like that. But until you really know something, you really can't say you love it, right? You can't say, you know, and people who say they love America don't know what America is. Do you love it that we're, you know, that we're supporting a genocide in Israel after supporting, you know, creating a war in the Ukraine with Russia, which we facilitated, and all these people were dying because of that, or the genocide that we did in Libya, and all these other, you know, places that in the Arab Spring, Iraq, Afghanistan, all these countries where, you know, all the things we did. We love it when Biden droned those 8 kids in Afghanistan just to cover his ass because he was in charge of a disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Do you love America then? Like, so what are you talking about? You love the government, you love the politicians, you love the, you know, capital. What you love is the bullshit, right? The bullshit indoctrination that you believe that this is, you know, you love the good parts about it, right? The, you know, so-called freedoms. You love the lifestyle that you have now that you didn't have in Nicaragua, right? Like, you know, things weren't as good in Nicaragua. So you came here as an 8-year-old and you're like, oh, it's better here. I got malls and shit, you know. But that's, you know, the lifestyle comes at the expense of countries like Nicaragua and these other third world countries, right? America is eating their food and oppressing those people. So, you know, anybody who loves America doesn't know what America stands for, unless you're just into the evil part. And then you're really not capable of love. And so that's just silly, right? Like, you're just a silly person. A little bit more from her.
Every American has the duty to put our country first.
No, we don't. You put God first. I mean, that's what you should do. Like, everyone should do that. I mean, I'm not saying do that, like, because, you know, you have to decide that on your own. But divinity first, right? But, like, why would you put America before yourself? Why would you put your country before yourself? Like, this country? Are you serious? This corrupt country being used by these, you know, debauched people? Like, it's silly. Like, what a stupid thing to say, right? They all say it. She's not the only one saying that. But, like, you don't put your country before yourself. Why would you? Why in the world would you? What, the taxes that go to doing bad shit and the, you know, all the things that we do, like all the military-industrial complex, of the weapons of war that we give to other people or sell to other people, or, you know, all the pain that we cause, and, you know, all the stuff that's happened, Big Pharma and all these, you know, corporate giants. What are you talking about, right? 5G that's cooking our brains and our nutsacks, right? Like, and so, you know, all of it. Like, so what are you talking about? What are you talking about, bitch, right?
Country first before party. Country first before political ambition. Country first before habit.
So Kamala put the country first when she dated a guy 30 years her senior, twice her age, when she was 29, and he gave her positions over people who deserved them because of the positions she was willing to engage in. So, like, what are you talking about? Like, she is a self-serving person, right?
And in this election, putting country first means one thing and one thing only.
Voting
for
Kamala
Harris.
No way. I didn't see that coming at all. Boom. I told you. I know. I got it. Nicaragua. Okay, so that's her. Okay, so it ends this way here.
And that is what this night is about. That is what we're going to talk about tonight. So you know what?
Chicken butt.
Let's get it started.
Let's get it started, party people.
Let's get this fiesta going.
Let's get this fiesta going, party people. See ya. Bye. Bye. Vice President Harris has cast more tie-breaking votes than any other VP in history. Where are they?
The ayes are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the nomination is confirmed.
Okay, so this is because, you know, this one accomplishment is because Joe Biden lost the Senate, or he had the Senate and it was tied, right? And so they had a tied Senate between Democrats and Republicans, and so it kept on coming up that Kamala Harris would have to vote, right? You know, so because she's the tie-breaking vote, and so that has nothing to do with her, right? Like, they're making it sound like she accomplished something. She did her job, right? This is like, well, I'm not going to vote today. Like, that would have been the other alternative. To provide COVID relief, which is why the economy's fucked with all those bailouts, right?
And the concurrent resolution as amended is
double mask.
Adopted.
Boom. To rescue our economy again. The economy isn't rescued, right?
The Vice President votes in the affirmative. And
boom, she did it again 3 times.
To proceed is agreed to.
Boom.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
She had to read that thing. I think a third time she'd be able to just memorize that. Boom.
It is my honor to present the Golden Gavel.
She's got the Golden Gavel. Look at this guy.
Vice President Harris, 32 tie-breaking votes.
Boom, 32 tie-breaking, the most ever. Boom. She did the Golden Gavel.
Senate Majority Leader and New York Senator
Chucky Schumer.
Chuck Schumer.
Chucky, look at him come out. Look at him out dancing, right? He's coming out dancing here. Look at him. Look at his weird-ass body. Still, boom. There we go. Raise the roof. Look at him. Look at him. He's become a caricature of himself, right? When he was younger and he went to the fair and somebody drew a caricature of himself, caricature of him, and now he's become that. Like, he looks just like that, right? He looks like some kind of caricature of the kind of, person he represents, right? Chucky Schumer, look at that guy. Look at him go.
Everybody.
Party people, it's me, Chucky Schumer, Chucky S.
Isn't that a great roll call?
Yeah, it is. Way to go, Chucky. Chucky. Chucky.
Now just let me hear you if you're ready for President Kamala Harris.
Yeah, we are, Chucky. Chucky.
Friends, we're here to talk about one thing. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Not today, tomorrow. We're going to talk about tomorrow, and today. And yesterday was last week.
And building a better tomorrow for all Americans.
Okay, so let's go to Chucky Schumer memes. He's just impossible to listen to. The big thing was when he was dancing. I wonder if he'll dance off stage, too.
To come on to victory in November.
Boom, you're so inspirational, Chucky. All right, there you go. Dance off. Do your dance. Come on, Chucky. Don't leave. Oh, Chucky, where's the energy that we expected? Boom, little kisses, Chucky.
Interesting. These are the blueprints to DARPA. Morgan, if the CIA had a Q working for them, he'd be working right there. And I've seen enough intersect white rooms to know that they have one.
When a guy's banging you, because if you can feel their body, come on.
18 points for Joker, only nugget in double figures. 69-59. Golden State shooting 60.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
Back at you.
Back at you.
Back at you.
I am not a role model. I'm not paid to be a role model.
Just a reminder, I'm Jake, not Chuck.
Together, we will build what I call an opportunity economy.
Yeah, so this is where you get her commercials.
I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans. Compare
Boom, she will do that.
my plan with what Donald Trump intends to do. He wants to impose what is, in effect, a national sales tax on everyday products.
Boo.
And basic necessities that we import from other countries.
Boo.
It will mean higher prices.
Higher prices.
On just about
Everything, because there'll be tax involved.
your daily needs. Donald Trump's plan would cost a typical family $3,900 a year.
Boom, that's a lot of money.
He wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which 45 million Americans rely on for health care. He
Okay, so what's your plan? We know what Donald Trump's is. The plan?
plans to give billionaires massive tax cuts
No,
year
boo.
after year. And he plans to cut corporate taxes by over $1 trillion.
Boo.
That if you want to know who someone cares about, look who they fight for. We capped the price of insulin at $35.
Boom, that's what we did. Me and Joey B. Remember that guy? Joey B.
And the total cost of prescription drugs at $2,000 a year.
Okay, so they're running these ads between these things. So they bring out Bernie Sanders, who doesn't dance, by the way.
In 100 years, and the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression.
So Bernie Sanders is going to rail about the rich, and then they bring out this guy right afterwards.
Welcome, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Pritzker, way to go, Pritzker. I was hoping they're bringing out Pritzker. You know, people don't know about Pritzker. JB.
Democrats, welcome to Chicago.
Chicago. This guy's from Chicago. It's his hometown. Pritzker.
We're a great American city in a proud blue state. Our patriotism was formed in frost and in fire, and in the steel we forged to survive both. Our love of country has been a tapestry of faith.
Pritzker was inaugurated as Illinois' 43rd governor on January 14, 2019, with an estimated net worth of $3.6 billion. I know this because the CNN people brought this up. I just happened to see them talking about this.
That weaves from Abraham Lincoln reuniting a house divided to Barack Obama declaring blue states and red states make
He's the Chris Christie of...
one United States.
Yeah, remember that? That was great. We're not, I don't know, blue states and red states. We're the United States. Remember that great line?
Illinois' presidential pedigree is unmatched. And given that Vice President Kamala Harris spent some of her...
Okay, so this guy's a billionaire, and Bernie Sanders just railed against billionaires, right? And I know this because they were talking about it on CNN. And, you know, I didn't watch the conventions last time or the time before. And, the conventions are like the Oscars. They're unwatchable. But this one's kind of epic because, you know, Donald Trump's, these two, because Donald Trump had that fake shooting, Ketchupgate, and Kamala Harris didn't win a vote, right? And so, you know, the JoJo Magoo debacle. And so these are interesting and they're historic, but not in a good way. And so this guy, David Axelrod, who was Obama's campaign manager, who actually kind of says things a little bit critical of the Democratic Party. Like he's not, you know, just totally shilling for them. I mean, he shills, but not as bad as some of the others. He talked about how in 2016 with Hillary, the convention was so divided. Remember, and I remember this, the Bernie Sanders people were pissed because they knew they got robbed. And that Hillary really didn't have enough votes or whatever it was, but it was very close. And the Bernie Sanders people were like, you know, rioting, right? Remember that? Like they were not happy. They didn't want her at all. They didn't like her. And, you know, she was Hillary. And, you know, Bernie Sanders, it came out later, Donna Brazile said they out and out rigged it. Of course, the DNC, they had to fire Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So Obama left the DNC in debt of like $12 million. And then she bought the nomination, Hillary, because she had all this money to give him. And she propped up the DNC, but she said she wanted the nomination if she was going to bail them out. And then there was they got hacked and the Podesta got hacked. I mean, she got fired and Donna Brazile came in and found out they rigged it for Hillary. And she called Bernie Sanders and they had a conversation. He was like, is she going to win? And Donna Brazile said, well, like she's winning the polls, but there's not a lot of enthusiasm at her rallies and things. So 4 years later, it was still some issues with Joe Biden because they rigged it against Bernie Sanders, but they made the Bernie Sanders people stand down. I mean, they openly rigged it. They had congressmen and senators come on TV and say, there's no way we're going to let a socialist win the nomination. And so Bernie Sanders was going to win. Like he had already won New Hampshire and he was second in Iowa, or reverse of that, whatever it was. And Pete Buttigieg, who won in the other state, he ran out of money after 2 states. He was broke. And so Bernie Sanders had the most support. But they got Joe Biden to win in South Carolina, which was the third primary, with Clyburn. Clyburn said, you got to knock off all this no malarkey shit and get like going. You got to, really have a concise message that isn't, 50 years old or whatever, right? And so they decided to have Pete Buttigieg and Nancy Klobuchar withdraw and endorse Biden in front of Super Tuesday. And Elizabeth Warren stayed in, and she was running on a liberal platform that she stole from Bernie Sanders. And so she took some of his support away from him, and Biden won those states, but only because they rigged it. And they, contrived a victory based in the, they did it right out in the open. They just went on TV and said, yeah, this is what we're going to do. There's no way Bernie Sanders is going to win. And so they handed it to JoJo Magoo, and the Bernie Sanders people were still pissed, people like Susan Sarandon, but they were basically shut up by the fact that people were saying, because you guys didn't support Hillary Clinton at the convention, Donald Trump won. And so they got rid of all these people, these radical liberals, by saying, if you guys don't fall in line, then Trump will win. And they're doing the same thing now, right? So they waited to the last minute to admit that JoJo Magoo had mental issues, which everybody knew for years, all the way back to 2019 if you were paying attention. But certainly it's become more obvious the last couple of years. And he had no chance of winning. His economy was bad, and his record on the border was bad. And people are just over him, and they're, Trump is looking pretty good to them now, right? And so the possibility of Trump winning, and not only that, but a depressed turnout it's not so much about Trump winning. Like, Trump is going to get his support. Trump can get 48% of the vote. And he's got very passionate voters. And, all the Republicans will turn out for him. They'll fall in line, even the ones that don't like him. And, I can't imagine Republicans voting for Kamala Harris, right? And so the Republicans will probably all vote for Trump. He'll get some of the, independents, some of these people. But it's getting out the vote that's important to the Democrats. They have more potential vote, but the Democratic vote isn't guaranteed. And Trump is kind of a shoo-in up until this last month, where Kamala's had a good month, right, of August. And now she has the convention. And so there's no naysayers because they can't afford that shit. They can't afford people questioning the legitimacy of Kamala's, candidacy or any of these other things, because otherwise they're going to get a Trump presidency. And all of these Democrats know it. So they have to fall in line. And so this convention is kind of going off without any sort of opposition. Kamala hasn't faced any opposition. But at some point she's going to have to between now and whatever it is, right? And, the powers that be are going to pick whoever they're going to pick. And they, I think they're going to pick Trump, but who knows? Like, it doesn't matter. Because it does, either way we're fucked. Like, it's just the show. It's for the show. It's not for the, America. There's going to be some political policy changes and things that'll affect us one way or another, right? And I can't say one is worse for me or the other is. Some of the things are, long-term effects, but mostly they're just completely puppeted people. Both of them are performers, and they love the audience and the adoration and the, being in front of a camera, the attention, more than they love the policy stuff, right? They'll do whatever, that suits them based in who the people, like for Trump, it's the people that love Trump. He'll take care of those people. The people that are good to Trump, Trump will be good to them. And Kamala Harris will do whatever her handlers tell her. Trump a little bit less so, but that's, basically it. And Trump is, going to do what's good for Trump and his family. But you can see how fake this convention is because there's no opposition. She didn't win any votes. And there's fake enthusiasm for someone who hasn't earned it. Like, if Kamala Harris loses this election, she won't be at the next convention. There might not even be one, right? But let's say there's a convention in 2028. If she loses, you'll never see her again. Not like Hillary Clinton they rolled out here. Kamala Harris is maybe they'd give her a spot, but I doubt it severely. And her political career is over. She's not going to run for president again. She loses this, she'll be whatever she does, right? And I don't know what that is, but she doesn't have anything, of merit to offer people. Maybe she has some level of connections and things, but she doesn't really have a big fan base. She doesn't have a lot of influence within the Democratic Party until, they nominated her, until Jojo Magoo was, finally, they admitted he was senile, right? He had brain processing issues. And so, Parkinson's. And so, when that all went down, all of a sudden now she's the most powerful person in the Democratic Party for 3 months. And if she loses, she disappears. And that's the good thing about her losing, because she deserves to disappear. But if Trump wins, Trump disappearing to me is almost more important, because, Kamala Harris is going to face a rough ride once she's president. If she wins, then she probably is going to have a Republican Congress and a Republican Senate, and she doesn't really know how to govern, and there's going to be no real confidence behind her because they just basically forced her on the Democratic Party and the American people. And so either way, it's going to be a shit show. And kind of entertaining, hopefully, until, it's not, right? It'll be entertaining till everything collapses, and then it'll be not so entertaining. But anyways, let's get into the other stuff here. Okay, so listen to this dude right here.
A little kick in our campaigns, and let me tell you, we are feeling en fuego right now.
Oh my God. What is going on? This is like a freak show, right? We are feeling en fuego right now.
We are fired up to elect Kamala Harris President of the United States.
She's from the great state of New Mexico. And they're filling in fuego. So what else?
I want. And that's the president America needs. And with your help, that's the next president of the United States.
Boom. You rocked it. In fuego. You're filling in fuego. So then there's this. Let's show you this thing. So Ana Navarro is hosting this thing.
Holding two things, a grudge and a golf club.
Boom. About Trump. Look at it. Drop the mic. Bring it. Where is it?
I remember when Kamala was first running for district attorney, and people were like, oh, I don't know if she's tough enough.
Oh, no, she's plenty tough. I know. She used to beat the crap out of me when I was a kid.
And I just had to laugh because I'm like, you don't know my sister.
Now the fighter, right? The protector and the fighter. These are the words they want you to associate with Kamala Harris. This is their new narrative.
Kamala had been a hard and tough prosecutor in Alameda County, prosecuting men who were pimping young girls and rapists.
Turning the tables on pimps. Let's go back here. Turning the tables on pimps and johns. Yee Harris back tough sentencing for kid prostitution.
Who were pimping young girls and rapists.
Kamala wanted to make sure that murderers and child abusers face meaningful accountability and consequences for those actions.
One of the cases that she had early in her career was where a man had scalped his girlfriend. And she ended up getting a conviction, getting justice.
Okay, so we now know Kamala Harris is firmly against scalping.
For that woman.
She came to San Francisco to protect victims, and she was elected to be district attorney.
Yeah, she wanted to protect victims because of that one story with her in high school that wasn't anything she talked about till like very recently.
San Francisco. Kamala knew that we needed to be smart on crime, and if hell, no one else was going to do it, that she was going to do it.
If no one else was going to do it, well, Kamala will get it done. You know, like that's how NEPADS does. When no one was willing to do what NEPADS is willing to do, she'll do it.
I keep my promise to you to keep you safe. I better talk with you about what I'm doing in terms of crime prevention. Investing in people coming out of prisons is the smart thing to do for law enforcement. Forget that it's just the right thing to do.
That was a young Kamala Harris. She's only gotten more fierce.
She's got more fierce with age because that's what usually happens. That people get more fierce as they get older. You know, they don't burn out and give up and quit and just, just wear down and lose their testosterone. No, she has even more testosterone now than she did. I mean, because of this, right? She's been, she's been gulping it by the gallons.
Never seen her back down from a fight, and when she fights, she wins.
When Kamala became Attorney General, she wanted to protect people, but also to fundamentally pursue justice.
Being smart on crime starts with being tough on violent crime.
Boom, exactly.
From a statewide perspective, I think we were concerned about the rise of gang violence.
She's definitely against gang violence, like she's against it. Stockholm Syndrome. She's one of the few people who's against gang violence. Most people are for it. Most prosecutors are for gang violence, but not Kamala.
In County, we saw this tremendous change in our community, and it hit us like a wave. We saw
it was like a wave. It was like a wave of like goodness.
Increase in human trafficking, narcotics, and guns.
Let it be clear to anyone who would menace this state with violence, to those who prey on the weak and the vulnerable, justice will be swift and certain in the state of California.
Yeah, it will, because Kamala's the new sheriff in town.
She was always hunting the kingpins, but we didn't have partnerships with DOJ or FBI or DEA.
And why would you? Why would you have partnerships with federal law enforcement?
Of those law enforcement agencies. Now, we all work collaboratively.
No, you do. Like she said, hey, why don't we do this together? Why don't we work together? We're all in this to fight crime. She created the Avengers of law enforcement.
To help all the counties in California. Because of her, we destabilized organized crime, disrupt
Exactly. There's no organized crime in California anymore. Like, California has almost like zero crime right now. San Francisco is a beacon to the rest of the country. They're wonderful places. After Kamala got through with California and San Francisco, it's just basically it's like a fairyland, right? Shangri-La over there. That's why everyone with money is moving out.
flows of guns, human beings, and narcotics.
We are here this afternoon to announce the shutting down of one of the biggest and most organized threats to the safety of the Central Valley.
I really think of her as fearless, as a fighter.
She's fearless? She's a fighter?
Kamala just perseveres, and Mommy would say it's too hard is never an excuse. Making excuses...
And Mommy said that. That's what Mommy said all the time.
...is a failure to not only take responsibility, but to take action.
She doesn't make excuses, Kamala.
You have the will, the desire, the passion, the commitment. There is no challenge that is insurmountable.
And the knee pads. You get the knee pads, and there's nothing that she can't swallow. Boom, fearless. Woo!
Please welcome.
They're not even applauding for that shit.
Democratic nominee for Senate in Maryland, Angela Alsobrooks.
Alsobrooks? Oh, they brought out Alsobrooks on day 2? I thought she was at day 3 or at least. Look at Alsobrooks.
Good evening, America, and hello, Maryland.
Woo! I want to be a senator there. Woo!
People like me, thank you. People like me, stories like mine, don't usually make it to the United States Senate.
But I got knee pads. Kamala was handing out free knee pads. And so, she goes on for a while.
Darkest before the dawn. We know that we can endure for a night because joy cometh in the morning.
Joy cometh in the morning. And, sometimes at night when you're wearing knee pads. Depending on who Joy is. All right, let's move on to... Okay, so the strangeness of the freak show continues here. Freedom in USA.
My struggle with infertility was more painful than any wound I earned on the battlefield.
Tammy Duckworth, I think her name is. She had wounds on her battlefield, but infertility was more painful.
So how dare a convicted felon like Donald Trump treat women seeking health care like they're the ones breaking the law?
You mean abortion? He didn't. Like, he installed Supreme Court justices that were Republican in nature, which was kind of his job as a Republican, and they repealed Roe v. Wade as a constitutional right. And it was never in the Constitution, or should never be in the Constitution, that was a right to kill fetuses, right? And now it's a state-by-state policy.
How dare J.D. Vance criticize childless women on cable news?
Except, how dare he?
Then vote against legislation that would have actually helped Americans to start families.
Yeah, how dare he? How double dog dare you? How dare you? Freedom. Freedom. Look at that guy. Freedom. Reproductive freedom. Boom. There she goes. Woo, I did it. Okay, here he is. Dougie Fresh. Get ready to meet Doug E. Fresh. Dougie.
My dad, Doug.
Doug. That's his dad, Dougie Fresh. Look at Dougie, where it is. Look at Dougie. He was always a smart dresser. Look at that turtleneck. Rocking it, Dougie. Oh, there he is. Look at him. Look at that collar. Look at that fucking collar. We grew up the same time. I think he's my age, right? We grew up the same time. I don't think I ever got a collar like that. I was, like, underprivileged.
Raised in Jersey, moved to LA when he was 16. These are his parents, Arv and Mike.
Arv and Mark. And then there he is. Look at him.
They think he walks on water.
They think he walks on water, because he does. He's Dougie Fresh.
This is what he wore to his bar mitzvah.
Dougie. Look at his bar mitzvah attire. Look at that tie. Look at that motherfucking bow tie. Dougie. Dougie.
And here's him at summer camp. They voted him most athletic, so he says.
We know he's a liar. We don't believe Dougie, his own kids. Come on. If he says it, he did it. If he said he's the most athletic, he was voted best, he was. I mean, this doesn't look like it's a very athletic camp. But if he says it, don't question him. He's Dougie Fresh.
This is a photo McDonald's used when he was Employee of the Month.
He was Employee of the Month at McDonald's. Dougie just keeps on getting better and better. I didn't even know all this stuff about Dougie Fresh.
Hung on our wall for years. My dad is a lawyer.
Where's the picture of him banging the nanny? Do you got any video of him banging the nanny?
A really good one.
He's a good lawyer. He looks like a lawyer. Doesn't he look like a lawyer? He's like, that guy's a lawyer. So I had a holy shit moment. So that's Dougie Fresh on the left, and it's Anthony Weiner on the right. Dougie Fresh and Anthony Weiner are practically frickin' twins, right? I mean, just, let me just put, I got a picture of Navarro in here. I'll do that over as well here. Let's put her in here. Kaboom. What's that? And so, Dougie Fresh and Anthony, that's an older Anthony Weiner, but the facial resemblance, uncanny. And so, Anthony Weiner was a rock star politician who was married to Hillary Clinton's lover, Huma Abedin. And then he got caught showing his Johnson to a teenage girl or something. And there's some other scandals, multiple things with him. Mostly involving his wiener. And then and so, he had this apropos name of Anthony Weiner. And, and Dougie Fresh is they could be brothers, right? And so they're, this will be my thumbnail for the video. And this just happened. I looked at him like, hey, that guy looks like Anthony Weiner. Dougie Fresh looks like Anthony Weiner.
My mom called him the crisis guy because he was everyone's first call. My parents split when I was in middle school, and that wasn't easy. That's not easy for any kid.
Especially when he took the nanny with him. He was banging the nanny and impregnated her, and, he split on her. I said, we were kind of upset, but, it worked out.
But it helped that my parents stayed friends, and we all kept hanging together.
They still hang together, even though he banged the nanny. And pray. Did you guys ever see the baby of the nanny? Do you guys have a relationship with her? Where's the nanny baby? Come on. Where's the nanny baby? Okay, so they know the nanny's name, but she doesn't have any social media. And there's no evidence that she had where her baby is, right? So we don't know where the nanny baby is. Maybe aborted, right? Maybe, lucky for Dougie, he lived in at the time before Trump got rid of all those freedoms.
We grew closer than ever.
Boom, look at those kids. Look at those kids.
And then he met Kamala.
Oh, what a great thing Kamala is.
A blind date that would dramatically change all of our lives.
They met on a blind date.
Ever. It was my senior year of high school. Ella and I would laugh watching them fall in love, acting like teenagers.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
In 2014, Kamala became Mamala.
Mamala. She's a Mamala.
She took over Sunday night dinners and taught Doug how to actually cook.
Yes, Doug didn't even know. Doug Emhoff. Great lawyer, bad cook.
Our blended family wasn't used to politics or the spotlight, but when Kamala became senator, we were all excited to step up, especially my dad.
Doug stepped up. He stepped up right away.
Then Kamala became vice president. It felt like Doug was a bit out of place on Capitol Hill.
Why do you call him Doug? Did you call him Doug before he banged the nanny?
I thought, what is my goofy dad doing here? But he embraced it.
He's a second gentleman.
Left his practice after being a lawyer for 30 years. That was tough. I was so proud to watch him do it, to stand by her side. An example of true partnership.
They're partners. They're in love.
I just got married myself.
To a girl? To a girl.
He's inspired.
Look at this. Look at this hairdo. Look, this is his. Is that his best man, his sister, wearing a tux? And the girl has a. Is that her wedding party? A dude? Like, what's going on here? So I didn't notice it at first, but later on, Dougie Fresh is going to talk about how Kamala was in charge of the wedding. She emceed the wedding. She married them, right? And I guess as a lawyer, or district attorney, I don't know where she gets the authority to marry somebody, but not as a religious person. So the groom grew up Jewish. And I don't know about his wife, and I'm not going to look into it, but I don't know what religion she is. And she has a maid of honor who's a guy. His sister is dressed in a tux, and she's his best man. And Kamala Harris is the person who's doing the wedding. So how, like, more fucked up could this thing be?
Hired me as a new husband. Anyone who really gets close to him knows he's kind, loving, and
fiercely protective. Look at this guy. Okay, protesters rush stage, grabs mic from Kamala Harris.
Fiercely protective.
Look. Look at him. Look at him. Look at that face. Don't mess with my wife, hippie. We know what we do. You know what we do. I'll Palestine you.
Just look at this face.
Woo!
This is my dad.
There he is.
First, second gentleman in the history of this nation. He's found his voice around the issues that matter to him.
Yeah, he loves the genocide in Palestine.
You have no choice but to speak up and speak out. There is an epidemic of hate, including a crisis of anti-Semitism in our country and around the world.
Yeah, hate's pretty bad. You know what's kind of worse, though? A genocide and murdering 20,000 kids. Like, I mean, what about that, Dougie Fresh? I mean, it's kind of a bummer, Dougie. Come on, Dougie. You're better. We expect more from you, Dougie. Dougie.
They are doing on reproductive freedom and freedom in general is just outrageous.
Exactly. When that nanny got knocked up, like, you having that freedom to murder that fetus, and so I didn't have a Hunter Biden baby running around is a big deal.
And next, he's gonna make history again as the first gentleman.
Boom, Dougie. Woo!
I can't wait for everyone to get to know why we all love him. He's the glue that keeps this family together.
Boom, Dougie.
We might not look like other families in the White House.
You don't. I'm talking about this dude right here.
But we are ready to represent all families in America.
Boom. Dougie Fresh. Woo! Woo, Dougie.
Please welcome my dad, the second gentleman of the United States, Doug Emhoff.
Woo, Dougie Fresh, Dougie! Dougie! Woo! Boom. That's what they're doing. Like, he's going to give his son a hug. Boom. So that's that song. He's picked out this song. He's rocking it. Like, we went to give him a high five. Look, this kid just dusted him. Let's go back there. Comes out, right? Son's saying, here comes Dougie. They're playing the song. They're waving the signs. Dougie! Boom. All right. Good hug. Good quality hug. Then he goes to give his son a high five. Now his son puts his hand out, and he goes, well, hey, psych. Then you give him the fist. Get out of the way. Okay, so I'm editing. I have to add two things. I have some more intel on the bride of Dougie Fresh's son. But first, Dougie Fresh is feeling himself, right? So let me show you these two clips. I'm going to add these things, and then we'll go back to Dougie's speech. But Dougie Fresh is just like, living large and feeling himself. Okay, so this is another rally with Dougie Fresh. One of my viewers sent me this. And they play the same song, the same goofy song here. Okay, so watch him come out here. Look at him. Look at him dancing around, celebrating. I mean, he's just like, all these people, they get their 15 minutes of fame. I expect better of you, Dougie, right? Dougie. So let's add this. I'll put this in, I guess, when he comes out. So I had to look it up. He married a woman named Greenlee Littlejohn because she's frickin' apparently he plucked her right out of the Robin Hood story. And so it says here, Kamala Harris' stepson, Cole Emhoff, marries, she married longtime girlfriend, Greenlee Littlejohn. And there's no evidence that has any sort of religion. Here, there's their married wedding picture here. And there they are together there. She calls him Coco. Apparently he was named Coltrane, I assume after the musician. Coltrane, whatever that guy's name is. And so there they are together, the happy couple. And she's named Greenlee Littlejohn, religion unknown. And so they decided maybe they don't have really any religious beliefs, so they got married by the devil woman, Kamala Harris. Dougie. Doug E. Fresh. Come on, Dougie, sing it. Dougie Fresh. Look at these. They know about Dougie. Dougie. Thank you. Dougie, give it to him now, Dougie.
I guess he didn't want me to give this speech. He just... Thank you so much.
It's always so emotional watching that video.
Hello. Thank you.
Boom.
Hello to my big, beautiful, blended family up there.
Boom, look at them. Point them up to it. There they are, right up there. In the
I love
luxury
you
boxes.
so much. Aren't you proud of Cole? Wow.
Boom. Woo, cool. There she is, right there, the daughter.
A special shout out to my mother. I see you. My mother is
There's her mother. Boom, look at him.
only person in the whole world who thinks Kamala is the lucky one for marrying me.
Wait, I think that too, Dougie. What are you talking about? Definitely you're the catch in that relationship, Dougie. I've said it from the beginning. You guys can go back in my videos. I've always said Dougie Fresh is the prize in that family. Look at this. Look at this prize right here. Look at her cool outfit. Look at her. She's crying.
And
daughter.
to Kamala, who, well, we just saw where she is. She's out on the trail listening to and talking with voters. Honey, I can't wait for you to come back to Chicago because we're having a great time here.
Yeah. Woo.
I love you so much. I'm so proud of how you're stepping up for all of us.
Exactly. She stepped up as soon as the other guy, broke down mentally and got old, and like we all knew he was.
But that's who she is.
That's who she is. She's always stepping up.
Wherever she's needed.
Wherever. She's always stepping in. Wherever she's needed to step in it.
Wherever she's needed, Kamala rises to the occasion. And she did it for me and our family. And now that the country needs her, she's showing you what we already know. She's ready to lead.
Woo. Woo.
She brings both joy and toughness to this task.
Woo.
And she will be a great president we will all be proud of.
Woo. You're nailing it. Knock it out of the park, Dougie. You're just getting it done.
Now, I'm the son
Dougie.
of two Brooklynites, Mike and Barb. They've been together
Look at Mike and Barb. Look at the daughter.
almost 70 years.
Boom. Yeah, look at she's got a heart. She's doing the heart thing.
Dad
Look at her.
worked
Boom.
in the shoe
Boom. There's the Nancy Pelosi looking lady.
business in Manhattan. And he moved our family out to New Jersey. Where's New Jersey?
New Jersey in the house.
I see
Dougie
you
Fresh
out
calling
there.
him out. Dougie
When
Fresh
I
like
was
an
a little
MC
kid.
too.
And in a lot of ways, I had a typical Jersey suburban childhood.
Yeah, he did.
I biked around the neighborhood. I took the bus to Hebrew school.
Yeah, he did. That's typical.
And I rode to Little League practice in the way back of my coach's wood-paneled station wagon.
He didn't get handsy, did he, Dougie? Because that would be wrong.
And if we did well, we got to have a Slurpee after.
Yes. you know, when Kamala dated that guy who was like 60 and she was 29, she got to have a Slurpee. Dougie.
In my neighborhood, everyone left their garage door open. Wherever you ended up at dinner time, that's the family that fed you. Everyone took care of everyone else.
We know about neighborhoods. This is the whole big thing. And, Donald Trump is against that kind of neighborhoodly. Like, we're going to get back to the... it sounds like we want to make America great again like it was back then.
And the guys I grew up with are still my best friends. The group chat is active every day, and it's probably blowing up right now, guys.
It's blowing up.
When my dad had to get a new job, we moved across the country to L.A.
Aw.
Money was tight. Hey, California.
Hey, California. Woo! Dougie Fresh here. Dougie.
Money was tight, so I worked at McDonald's in high school for some extra cash.
Yeah, we heard about that. You were like employee of the month or something, right?
Not only was I employee of the month, but I still have the framed picture, which you just saw, and there was a ring, golden arches and all.
McDonald's food is like fucking poison, right? Dougie, like you're not winning me over here, Dougie. Like I had high hopes for you, bro, but you're pitching poison. You're pro genocide. You're kind of a doofus. You got weird kids.
And then I waited tables, parked cars. I was working full time so I could afford to go to college part time. And thanks to partial scholarships, student loans, and a little help from my dad. I got myself through law school.
Yeah, there she is. Look at her. Look at those two winners.
And I got my first job as a lawyer.
Woo!
Which is also where I met the guys in my fantasy football league.
Oh, yeah, we knew you were in fantasy football. Worked at McDonald's. You had left your garage doors open.
And a lot has changed in our lives since the early 90s, but my team name is still Nirvana.
No way. After the band?
Yes, after the band.
Oh, good. I'm glad I asked that question.
I worked hard.
He worked hard. Dougie worked hard at his fantasy football league and Slurpeeing, and just like Kamala. Kamala's like, she's better at the Slurpeeing than he is.
Love being a lawyer. And by the way, I still get to be part of the profession by teaching students at Georgetown Law School.
Students? You don't teach them the way you taught the nanny, do you?
I got married, became a dad to Cole and Ella. Unfortunately, I went through a divorce.
Yeah, because you banged the nanny and impregnated her. Don't leave that part out, Dougie.
But I eventually started worrying about
Dougie Fresh got busy.
How I would make it all work. And that's when something unexpected happened.
You got syphilis?
In 2013, I walked into a contentious client meeting. We worked through the issue, and by the end of the meeting, the now happy client offered to set me up on a blind date.
No way.
Which is how I ended up with Kamala Harris's phone number.
No way. Boom. Like, you didn't know who she was? Like, she was kind of famous in California and amongst lawyers? Like, you were a lawyer and she was like the district attorney, right? So, like, didn't you know? You didn't know who she was?
Now, for generations, people have debated when to call the person you're being set up with. And
But Dougie Smooth, Dougie Smooth knows when to do that kind of stuff.
never in history has anyone suggested 8:30 a.m.
Boom.
And yet, that's when I dialed. I got Kamala's voicemail, and I just started rambling.
That doesn't sound like you at all, Dougie.
Hey, it's Doug. I'm on my way to an early meeting. Again, it's Doug. I remember I was trying to grab the words out of the air and just put them back in my mouth.
You can, delete the voicemail. This is, 10 years ago. You had the ability to not, save the voicemail.
And for what seemed like far too many minutes, I hung up. By the way, Kamala saved that voicemail. And she makes me listen to it on every anniversary.
Boom.
But that message...
Then she pulls out the whip and the dildo.
wasn't the only unusual thing about that day. Now, Kamala, who normally would have been working hard at her office, just happened to be waiting at her apartment for a contractor to do some work on her kitchen. I was eating at my desk, which was not a regular occurrence for a busy lawyer like me who appreciated a good business lunch.
Yeah, you know, not paying taxes on it.
But that's when she called me back. And we talked for an hour, and we laughed. Well, you know that laugh. I love that laugh.
Yeah, you're the only one in America. Like, you have to be able to tolerate that laugh, right? Like, the rest of us are like, what the fuck is that laugh, right? That cackle she has.
What's your favorite curse word?
I can't say it. It starts with an M and it ends with Not ER.
What's your favorite curse word?
Boom. MNFer. That's her favorite one, and there's that laugh, right? That horrible laugh.
Regular occurrence for a busy lawyer like me who appreciated a good business lunch. But that's when she called me back. And we talked for an hour, and we laughed. Well, you know that laugh. I love that laugh.
Woo! Woo! Yeah, America's not going to love that laugh.
Maybe that counted as our first date. Or maybe it was that Saturday night when I picked her up and told her, buckle up, I'm a really bad driver.
Just, you sound like a real catch, Dougie. Fantasy Football League. Loving the laugh.
You can't hide anything from Kamala Harris, so you might as well own it.
Exactly. She's a sleuth.
And as I got to know her better and just fell in love fast, I learned what drives Kamala. And it's what you've seen over these past 4 years, and especially these past 4 weeks. She finds joy in pursuing justice.
Exactly. Joy in pursuing justice. Joy. Joy in pursuing justice. Well, that's someone likes to torture people, right? Like, what are you talking about, joy in pursuing justice? Like, justice should be something that, like, yeah, you have to do it, but, like, you're not psyched about it, right?
She stands up to bullies just like my parents taught me to.
He's a bully stand-upper.
And she likes to see people do well, but hates when they're treated unfairly.
She's just like a saint. Like, you know, it's nothing like the Kamala we know.
She believes this work requires a basic curiosity in just how people are doing. Her empathy is her strength.
It's her strength is her empathy. She's so empathetic when she was locking up parents for having their kids miss school, right? Breaking up families, locking up black people for, you know, little misdemeanor marijuana possession and things like that.
Over the past decade, Kamala...
You know how empathetic she is about Palestinian people and the, 20,000 kids that have been killed?
...has connected me more deeply to my faith, even though it's not the same as hers.
What is her faith?
She comes to synagogue with me for high holiday services.
Okay, where do you go with her?
I go to church with her for Easter.
She's Christian? So her mom was Brahmin, and she goes to church. How long has she been going to church? When did she become a Christian? And Easter, other than Easter, how many times did Kamala go to church?
Enjoy her mom's chili relleno recipe every Christmas, and she makes a mean brisket for Passover.
So her Indian mom makes chili relleno for Christmas, which seems like an odd thing, even if you're Mexican. Like, is that even a typical thing that Mexican people eat on Christmas? Okay, so the internet doesn't know what religion Kamala Harris is. I looked it up, and this is the National Catholic Reporter. Kamala Harris' multi-religious identity is a map of the future. She will be the first president candidate with a diverse personal, religious, and spiritual history that is now far more representative of America's multi-faith makeup. And so President Joe Biden made history Sunday by withdrawing his candidacy for a second term. The configured Democratic presidential ticket he endorsed with Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris would be the first black woman to be nominated by the majority party for the president and the first South Asian. She also has a diverse personal, religious, and spiritual history that is now far more representative of America's multi-faith makeup. Raised Hindu by her mother, Shamala Gopalan, a native of Chennai, India, she was often taken as a girl to the 23rd Avenue Church of God in Oakland, California by her neighbor, Regina Shelton, along with Harris's sister Maya. As an adult, Harris joined a Black Baptist church, Third Baptist Church of San Francisco, led by Reverend Amos Brown. Meanwhile, the man that Harris' husband was Los Angeles lawyer Doug Emhoff grew up in New Jersey attending to a Reform synagogue. And so Harris' faith connections have frequently played themselves out in her past 4 years in office, as the second couple inaugurated a tradition of lighting Hanukkah candles at their residence, as well as celebrating Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights. Diwali in India, I was there for like 2 or 3 Diwalis. So as I often said, there's people who like fireworks off on July 2nd or 1st, and I say, these people can't wait till the 4th to blow their thumbs off, right? Well, in Diwali, there were fireworks for about a week. And goofy fireworks. Like, it's supposed to be a festival of light, but it's not the cool fireworks. There's loud fireworks. There's like M80s and things that explode, right? And then there's the, Roman candles, the kind of thing, if the fireworks show you see from your city, and some people get, smaller levels of those types of, fireworks, right? The big ones that explode with light in the sky. So, those are the good ones, and they all smell like, gunpowder, and I'm not a big fan, right? But in India, like, my kids and I were walking home, and this woman who probably was 70 years old, like, she was old, whatever it was, maybe a lot older, she had lit a firework and then ran into her house, like, 70-year-old woman. And my kids and I walked around the corner, and there was a lit firework, like, 15 feet away from us, and we could have walked right into it. It was just, we did walk into it, but it didn't affect us. It was loud. It blew up right in front of us. And it had no, she was just, all these people were doing it. And it went on, like, till 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, this isn't a holiday. It's, there's a real holiday there. But it's lost its meaning because everyone owns fireworks there, and everyone's blowing them up. And in India, like, there's cows get their jaws blown off because if people are just lighting fireworks, and then a cow will walk up on it. Like, people run into the house and look out the window to watch it go off. And cows that are just walking around the streets there. Like, things like that are happening. These dogs, these street dogs come over and sniff the thing because they see it, whatever. Or they're walking by it, or, people get hurt all the time. It's like a big problem. But anyways, like, she's celebrating these things because traditionally she grew up as a Hindu. And, I think she likes maybe maybe she likes the holiday part of it. I don't know what her personality is. All of these things, right? But, like, she's claiming to be a Baptist, but it's, basically because she has to claim something. But, like, really, it's not talked about. I had to go, this is an article. I searched under, like, the news-related articles, and this is, like, one of the only ones that talk about this because it's a Catholic Post, right? Every past U.S. president has identified a Christian, and that will not change if Harris is elected in November. But if she runs for president, her religious biography will be not only history making, but will connect her to many Americans practice and encounter faith. This is the Desert News in Utah, which I assume is from a Mormon type of perspective. What Kamala Harris has said about her faith: Harris grew up with both Christian churches and Hindu temples. Kamala Harris comes to 2024 campaign for president with much more exposure to world religion than typical American politicians. The vice president was introduced to both Hinduism and Christianity as a child and has since become part of a Jewish family, right? Calling Harris a Baptist or a Christian is accurate, but it doesn't capture the nuance of her religious background, experts say. Now, her father was a Marxist communist economist and an educated, doctorate, guy with a PhD in economics. And her mom was, also a scientist and around other scientists who may or may not have believed in religion, right? Her mom worked as a researcher, a scientific researcher, right? And so, there's that element where they were around, like I think her dad probably is an atheist or, wasn't religious. And the fact that she was a Baptist means that she's saying that her family friend brought her to church and that she resonated with that. She rejected her mom's Hinduism. And, I don't find that to be true. She probably went to church a few times in her life, right? I don't think she went every Sunday. She never talks about it. So I don't think she was really religious at all as a kid. I don't think she grew up thinking of herself as a Christian. Only when she became a politician, she said, well, I'm a Baptist. They were like, she was told she has to pick one of the Christian religions. Well, I went to a Baptist church when I was 7, so I'll call myself a Baptist. So this is, some website called Biography. So again, this is obscure media I've never heard of before, right? How Vice President Kamala Harris' religion impacted her life. Harris and husband Doug Emhoff are an interfaith relationship. Harris said in an interview with Interfaith Youth Corps that her faith journey started when she was young. On Sundays, my mother would dress my sister Maya and me up on Sunday in our Sunday best and send us off to the 23rd Avenue Church of God in Oakland, California, where Maya and I sang in the children's choir. That's where I formed some of my earliest memories of the Bible's teaching, is where I learned that faith is a verb and that we must live it and show it in action. So why would your mom do that? Why would your mom, who is a Hindu, dress you up in your Sunday best and send you to church? Like, that makes no sense. If your mom believed in Hinduism, why would she send you off with a neighbor to go to church in Oakland, which was, probably, I don't know what the traffic is like there, but she lived in Berkeley, and, she wants to be an Oakland person, like has association with Oakland. Like Oakland is the tough city, the poor city, the inner city. Harris's mother was Hindu and her father was a Christian. Was he though? Really? She grew up attending services at a Black Baptist church and a Hindu temple. So she went to both things, right? But she's choosing Baptist. She's choosing to be a Baptist. Like her mom is, they talk about her mom being great in these bios. They don't talk about her dad at all. And yet she chose baptism, being a Baptist over being a Hindu. Well, yeah, because politically being a Hindu would kill her. You can't be a Hindu and win the election. And she's neither, right? Like she doesn't believe in any of these things. And Christianity specifically says that it's the only way to heaven. And so does she believe that? Does she believe her mom didn't go to heaven? Does she believe her husband isn't going to heaven? Right? Does she believe that? Like she believe in John 3:16? So, and these are obscure places. Like this is, whatever. So like the internet, for the most part, doesn't know what her religion is, right? Like it's, she's saying she's Baptist, but I've never heard her talk about God or religion, right? And her, Dougie Fresh did. Dougie Fresh talked about being Jewish. And he's like, I know more about his religion than we know about Kamala's. Like he is, and he talked about Kamala's religion as well. Kamala, maybe they'll say something in one of these bios, but they didn't say it about her in youth. Like when they did her youth bio about her being a protector, and they did their other bio, they didn't talk about her going to church at all. They didn't talk about her faith at all. She didn't say faith was a big deal. She said that her friend was molested by his stepfather, and that made her want to be a prosecutor. And she talked about things like that, right? She doesn't talk about, the 10 years she was banging a guy who was twice her age, and he gave her her political start in her career, that, without that interaction, she wouldn't be where she is, unless she banged some other guy, right? So, that's her, her religion. So let me say this, people probably don't understand what I do, even though I talk about it all the time. I do the Sajmark meditation. And I am very familiar with the Hindu religion and have read the Mahabharata and watched the Mahabharata, famous Indian TV series from years and years ago. Really low tech, kind of hilarious, but interesting, right? And I grew up Catholic and went to prayer meetings with my mom. My mom and my grandmother said rosary, the rosary prayer for me and my siblings. And I feel like that, I know that my mom's religious, being a religious woman, helped me later on in life because, I used drugs, smoked a lot of pot, did coke, whatever. When I was in my 20s, drank alcohol, whatever it was. Wasn't thinking about God. Like, I was really into God when I was, like, in 8th grade. And they started smoking pot when I was, like, 14 for a variety of reasons, that whole thing. But in the Sajmarg tradition, all spiritual movements are part of it. There's a continuation. These souls, these disembodied souls, the disembodied soul of Jesus intercommuned with the second master of the system, Babaji. I had a kind of a prophetic or an important dream with Jesus in it, right? And so Jesus is a part of my belief system, as are all these religions. All the religions are, all the valid spiritual movements. I may or not have past lives in some. I know I have past lives in some of these. I think I was around when Jesus was around. I was somebody, in that. I was somebody in the Mahabharata, some of these other things, right? And so for me, it's a part of all of it's a part of who I am, right? And I think the Hindu religion is superior to the Christian religion in the aspect of they still are open for new spiritual people to be born. They're always looking for saints to come in to their religion, right? To be born, which is, there's a lot of fake gurus because of that, but also, they embrace their saints, right? Where Christianity says, no, Jesus was the only one, and they close it down, which is bad. It's a horrible thing to do. Like, it's probably the worst thing you can do as a religion is not acknowledge that there's going to be higher developed souls that are going to come in and that you should connect with those people, regardless of whatever their religious background is. The whole John 3:16 really sucks. And, there's things about the Old Testament, the Jewish part of the religion, that's just horrific in terms of their description of God. I've talked about this in many of my videos, right? So I am, I like the eclectic. I think everybody should know what people believe. Even if you're an atheist, you should learn the religions because you should know what other people believe, right? It's imperative, and people's understanding of God and what they think God is really important. And so I don't have a problem with Kamala growing up as a Christian and also as a Hindu. Master Charji, the third master of the system, he went to a Christian school for a good number of years, and he read the Bible, and he was, St. Paul in a previous existence, right? He was, in a past life, he was St. Paul, and if you see what he did when he became master of the Sajmarg system and what he did as St. Paul, there's a continuation of his, like he played the exact same role in both of the spiritual movements, right? So I'm like, I'm not you got to be a Christian. So this isn't why I'm covering this, but being a Christian is important to the majority of people. And if you're going to lie about it or pretend, Trump's a pretender, they're both pretenders, right? So I don't have a problem with, like, if somebody, what their religious beliefs is as politician, because, that's, I would hope that people believe in God, but they're all going to lie about it anyway, right? It's not real. Like, if they really believed in God, they wouldn't be in politics, because you're not going to fix the world through politics. Only spirituality will save this world. That's why I save that. Because practicing connecting to God can uplift your brothers and sisters. Becoming saints and higher developed souls can uplift humanity, right? Politicians bring humanity down. They bring you down. Becoming a politician, you go into the sewer and you become a rat, you become something slimy. And so, like, you can't fix the world through politics. Maybe it's something your ego has to do, your soul has to do, but it's a lower thing. These people are on a lower vibrational level than anybody doing a spiritual, being a real spiritual person. Being a real spiritual person, you're elevated to a higher level. And so, this is all like BS. The whole religion thing is just BS, right? But, she's like so vague as a person. Like, they're trying to define her, and you can see it throughout this convention. But each time they try to define her, there's more questions because they're leaving out parts of her life and they're making things up, and it's not consistent with what she said before. They're trying to redefine her now in front of everybody, And that, I mean, if if America wasn't on the verge of collapsing anyway, this would be really bad, right? But let's get back to it here.
It brings me right back to my grandmother's apartment in Brooklyn. The one with the plastic-covered couches. But Kamala has...
You're such a typical dude.
...fought against anti-Semitism and all forms of hate her whole career.
Except for the Palestinian people. She hasn't fought against the hate and the death that's being generated by the America supporting Israel in their genocide.
She's the one who encouraged me as second gentleman to take up that fight, which is so personal to me. And those of you who belong to blended families know that they can be a little complicated. But as soon as our kids started calling her Mamala, I knew we'd be okay. Ella calls us a three-headed parenting machine. Kamala and Kirsten, thank you both. Thank you both. For always putting your family and the kids first. Now, Cole and Ella's friends knew that when they'd come over for Sunday dinner with Mamala, it was going to be real talk.
It's going to be real talk.
In between...
Why are you not showing Ella? Let's show Ella up there.
Taking cooking instructions, they'd have to answer questions about what problem they wanted to solve in the world. They learned that you've always got to be prepared because Kamala is going to prosecute the case. And in the same breath that Cole and Greenlee told us that they were engaged, they asked Kamala to officiate their wedding.
Whoa.
And in the same way that she always steps up when it matters, Kamala put so much time into those remarks, and she bound them in a book that matched her dark red dress, and then turned that into a gift for the happy couple.
Boom. What an incredible gift from somebody with her means and resources. A book that a homemade book that she wrote, wearing her red dress. Woo!
A few days ago, during this incredible time we're going through, there was a brief window when Kamala was back at home. And I saw her sitting on her favorite chair. And
She's got a favorite chair. We call it the cackle chair.
In the middle of a wild month, I just hoped that she was having a quiet moment to herself. But then,
remember I said we need more Dougie Fresh? I have been proven right. We need more. I mean, this is captivating content here from Dougie.
And I realized she was on the phone. And of course, my mind went to all the potential crises that the vice president could be dealing with.
Yeah, like none, right? Like the border crisis when she didn't go to the border. Dougie.
Was it domestic? Was it foreign? Was it campaign? I could see she was focused. And all I knew was that it must be something important. And it turns out it was. Ella had called her. That's Kamala.
There's Ella.
That's Kamala. Those kids are her priorities, and that scene was a perfect map of her heart.
This is a map of her heart. She's got this genuine heart.
She's always been there for our children, and I know she'll always be there for yours too.
Boom. Look at Ella. Cry, Ella. She can't hold back tears. It's just...
Kamala is a joyful warrior. It's doing for her country what she has always done for the people that she loves. Her passion will benefit all of us when she's our president.
Oh, exactly. And her empathy. Woo!
And here's the thing about joyful warriors. They're still warriors.
They're still warriors. They just laugh when they're doing the fatality at the end of Mortal Kombat.
And Kamala is as tough as it comes.
She's tough.
Just ask the criminals, the global gangsters, and the witnesses before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Global gangsters.
She never runs from a fight.
She's a fighter.
And she knows the best way to deal with a coward is to take him head on. Because we all know cowards are weak.
Exactly.
Kamala Harris can smell weakness. She doesn't tolerate any BS.
She doesn't tolerate any BS. That's why she goes on all those interviews and does all those interviews.
You've all seen that look, and you know that look I'm talking about. That look is not just a meme. It reflects her true belief in honest and direct leadership. And it's also why she will not be distracted by nonsense. Kamala knows that in order to win, we cannot lose focus.
She can't lose focus, just so she doesn't do interviews and everything's staged and all she does is talking, bumper stickers, because she can't lose focus.
America, in this election, you have to decide who to trust with your family's future. I trusted Kamala with our family's future. It was the best decision I ever made. This Thursday will be our 10th wedding anniversary.
Woo!
Which I know it means I'm about to hear that embarrassing voicemail again. However, that's not all I'll be hearing.
Why not play that voicemail for us?
That same night, I'll be hearing my wife, Kamala Harris, accept your nomination for President of the United States.
Woo!
And with your help, she will lead.
So look at this suit she's wearing, right? Like just the haircut and the suit, right?
With joy and toughness.
Dougie.
With that laugh and that look. With compassion and conviction. She'll lead from the belief that wherever we come from, whatever we look like, we're strongest when we fight for what we believe in, not just against what we fear. Kamala Harris was exactly the right person for me at an important moment in my life. And at this moment in our nation's history, she is exactly the right president. Thank you so much.
Go boom. Look at Dougie. Ooh, Dougie. Dougie rocked it. Look at Dougie. Look at his outfit. Okay, they're doing the song here. Dougie. Why don't they walk off, Dougie? Take a bow, Dougie. You rocked it, Dougie. Look at Dougie. Turn around, Dougie. Dougie. Okay, so she wore a weird suit, right? It's a weird suit. Whatever this is, right? And she also, one of my viewers sent me this.
This is my sister, Ella Emhoff.
Boom.
Ella.
Okay, so we know she has some back tattoos. She's got a lot of weird tattoos here.
What do you think about your dad these days?
I think he's a very empowering person, and I think we're really going to see that with his speech.
Okay, so she's in her, I think, 20s, whatever. And they're trying to campaign like the other guys are weird. Now, I'm not saying Trump and J.D. Vance aren't weird, but look at them. Look at her.
Speech, which I feel like I'm going to cry.
You did cry.
I just have a little feeling.
Is it as weird to you as it is to me, turning the news on and seeing his goofy face?
This goofy face, goofy goof.
Yes.
On live television?
You're disrespecting Dougie.
I don't think that'll ever be normal, I think it's one of those things that even seeing Kamala on TV, it's like they're my parents. They're just Doug and Kamala.
Boom. Here
Mr. USA.
Mr. USA coming in.
Doug in the flesh.
Doug in the flesh. Kill some Doug.
Dad in the flesh.
Dad.
What are y'all doing?
Dad, how are you feeling about your speech today?
I'm feeling great, but I gotta deliver.
You gotta deliver.
I mean, you're kind of a natural at it, though.
Really?
Yes.
I worked really hard on this. It's a lot of practice. So the words are good. I just need to deliver them to do it justice for her and for our family.
So she's 5'9", they say. I thought he was 6 feet. I think she's really taller than that.
You're gonna kill it.
I just want to make sure that it reflects how we all feel about her and what she's doing for all of us.
Yeah.
And that right now, she needs me to help her win this election.
Good boom. You're going to do it, Dougie. USA, USA.
We all need her to do that.
I think she
You.
We got to vote. But we're very proud of you, Dougie.
Dougie. Exactly. Dougie Fresh. She knows.
We love you. Best dad in the whole world.
Boom. Look at that happy fam.
love my dad.
They love her dad. They dad. This daddy, old dad. Boom. What happens when she loses? Okay, so here's Michelle Obama. Okay, they're playing the... Coming in, boom. Wait, let's go back here.
Obama.
Okay, she comes out to Stevie Wonder, Michelle Obama. Boom. There. Boom, coming out. Look. Boom. Look at the size of those frickin' mitts there, right? Trump is jealous of those hands. Boom. Coming out. Michelle Obama is a big woman. Rocking the long ponytail, coming out. Boom, here we go. There it is, right? Wow. So, boom. Give a applause. Stevie Wonder singing in the background. There she goes. Look at it. They're all happy. Look, Michelle Obama's here.
Thank you, guys.
Woo! Woo! So, there was all this rumors that Michelle Obama was going to somehow be snuck in there. People said Hillary Clinton. And I said, that's just right-wing freaking paranoia. You right-wing people, the Trumpers, and, you guys always bring out the same old players. They got plenty of people who suck, right? The thing about Donald Trump that you could say is you can't create another one of him, right? Donald Trump is unique. And just like the, good politicians, the ones that are, or the ones that have, rock star appeal, because there's very few of them that actually have that. But there's plenty of suck asses and, people that suck, and they have an endless supply of sucky people to choose from.
Okay. We got a big night ahead. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much.
That video my wife told me about, Tucker Carlson interviewing two people who were, one was like a doctor, the other, I don't know. There were people in the medical community that were whistleblowing on Big Pharma. They talked about how Michelle Obama is pushing a fruit drink, which she has a contract with, right? Let's see if there's probably a commercial for it. Michelle Obama's Pelzy Nutrition launches fizzy drink aimed at tweens and twinks and teens, or just tweens and teens. Here's the Pelzy Fizz right here. And they're saying it has 70% less sugar than the leading soft drinks, 28 grams per 8.4 ounces. And so that's still a lot of sugar, right? And sugar is not good for you, but she's kind of the nutrition. She was the one who had the organic garden, right?
We're dramatically lowering sugar content. I'm talking no added sugar, zero. Say,
No, but there's 70% less sugar. Look, it's got that weird, crazy eyes.
We have, anybody who's a parent knows that's hard to find. We have cut 3/4 of the sugar that you'll find in 100% juice. Second, we're not.
Okay, so that's not, that's still a lot of sugar, right?
Not just cutting all that sugar, we're also lowering the sweetness entirely. So why is that important? Well,
so, it's still, you could have healthy fruit juice, right? Organic fruit juice or whatever it might be. And, they have these fizzy drinks, basically soda. They're reducing sugar, but it's not enough to make a difference, right? And she's making money off it, and people trust her as it's going to be healthy, but it's not, right? We love you, Michelle. Woo! Okay, let's see what else there is here. Okay, so this happened some years ago.
To Obama comes from his right-hand man, Vice President Joe Biden. He took to Twitter with a photo of a custom friendship bracelet featuring their first names and wrote, "Happy 55th, Barack."
There's a little pizza pie here or something, and smiley face emoji. He made him a friendship bracelet.
Brother to me, a best friend forever. The bromance doesn't get much sweeter than that.
Okay, so apparently they never really liked each other, right? So I'm skipping the Michelle Obama part. Look at him, right? What's going on here, bro? It's just... And so he talks a little about Jojo Magoo here.
sharing some common Irish blood, Joe and I come from different backgrounds, but we became brothers.
Yeah, brothers. And then when you caned him in the back, right, Abel and Cain, and you didn't support him when he could have run against Hillary Clinton, and you pushed him out of office. Well, when he was senile, which kind of needed to happen, but.
And as we worked together for 8, sometimes pretty tough years, what I came to admire most about Joe wasn't just his smarts, his experience.
His decency.
It was his empathy and his decency.
Yeah, they always talk about his decency. He's pretty decent, that guy.
And his hard-earned resilience, his unshakable belief that everyone in this country deserves a fair shot.
Yeah, that's what he believes. Especially his son Hunter. Like, Hunter deserves a fair shot to be an artist and make $1.5 million just on his first artwork that he ever tried. Just, he deserves a fair shake, right? To smoke crack and get paid for it, right? He deserves it.
And over the last 4 years, those are the values America has needed most.
Because Trump. Okay, so then he went in, and I forgot about all these weird poses and, expressions. And he definitely has, I think it's so many imitators and people trying to use his cadence that it's played out, right? His stick is. But here he goes after Trump in a really, lame way.
Are asking a very simple question. Who will fight for me? Who's thinking about my future, about my children's future, about our future together? One thing is for certain, Donald Trump is not losing sleep over that question.
It's silly because Kamala Harris is a self-serving person like all these politicians. Your wife is selling, fruit drinks with 70%, 30% less sugar than other fruit drinks and calling them healthy, right? And so, making a profit on it, which you guys all do. You guys are all big ego people, and you're all about yourselves. None of you guys are like for the people. Like, it's just silly. Like playing the same old game. Donald Trump, like he's saying he fights for you, and Kamala Harris saying she's going to fight for you. Who are they fighting against, right? The opposition party, the banks, the big pharma, the corporations. They're all self-serving and selfish, right? And who do you think they're going to choose, corporations or people? Who are they going to choose, billion-dollar corporations? I mean, why didn't they go after Pfizer? Why did Trump do Operation Warp Speed, and why did Kamala Harris push it, right, after it came out? Like, why didn't they go after it? Why weren't they suspicious of it? All the bad things Big Pharma does. What do you got to offer them? Your vote? You're going to turn on them as soon as they do something you don't like, right? And so they're going to go with the billionaires and the people who have power because they don't care about you. They're selfish, narcissistic people, self-interested, they're big egos, and you don't have any, leverage or anything that you could offer them.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not
Point out his age now that Biden is gone.
Stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think it's golden. You guys are obsessed with him, right? The Democratic Party and the mainstream Democratic-leaning media are obsessed with Trump. Like, all you guys do is whine and complain about Trump. Like, you're going to go down that road, right? Yeah, Trump is a victim constantly, talking about how he's being victimized and poor me and, this is the worst. Why do they treat me so badly? Yeah, he does do that. He does whine. That's true. That's what you just said is true. You guys whine about Trump way more because it's a collective bunch of people whining about Trump or whining about what's going to happen in the future or whining about the Trumpers, right?
It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing to Kamala.
That's just silly. It's not getting worse. Like the last couple of years was really bad. Like now he's running for president again. He still does it. I've talked about it, right? It's bad for him, and it just needs to go. No one wants to listen to that shit. But you guys, what are you guys going to do without him, right? You have nothing without Trump.
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories.
Yeah, that's where you're like, come on. Okay, I'm editing. I'm breaking in here. So this is Thursday. Last night, Wednesday night, I think it's Wall says the exact same thing. Talks about his complaints and then also his conspiracy theories. Somebody did anyway last night. Hopefully I'll find that. If it's Walsh, I definitely will. But let's wrap this thing up here. Like there's conspiracies out there. Not that Trump's conspiracies are, they're just Trump's ones that serve him, and he's not a truther. But we all know, like you were the hardest on whistleblowers, the wars, just the evil shit, like across the board, the way COVID was, all of it, right?
This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
Okay, so the hand gesture he did there. Right?
It just goes on and on and on.
All right, so that's, Barack Obama is like way worse than he used to be. His, whatever he did that was good at public speaking, he just played himself out, and, the whole stuff, the Biden debacle and stuff with Trump and, everybody copying him like Josh Shapiro and Kamala Harris using his cadence. Like his whole thing his shtick is played out, right? Okay, so let's wrap this one up here. They have a very weird obsession with Trump's junk, right? With his Johnson. Like remember, Jimmy Kimmel had Stormy Daniels. He showed her a tray full of orange mushrooms and had her pick it out. And they've talked about it quite often. And they're using this reference, like crowd sizes, his because he has a small, Anthony Weiner. Like they talk about this stuff like that, but they're obsessed with him. And you say like he's weird. Like why are you obsessed with his junk so much, right? Like why are you thinking about that? Like these are old men, weird stuff. And so big stuff. I mean, I'm trying to get all this content out. I haven't even started on the video from last night on Wednesday, and then tonight's the big night with Kamala. So I'm going to try to crank all this stuff out. This is, Oprah was there last night, Bill Clinton, bunch of epic stuff here. I think Bill Clinton's the one who said conspiracy theory, and yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. He said the same thing Obama did. And so these, they have these non-organic talking points that they stick in, these words and stuff. And when they do all that stuff, it means that they don't have anything legitimate. Like they can't be honest and true and pure and, the rest of it. And not that Trump is good because they did the same shit with his, fake shooting and all the Hulk Hogan. I mean, these people just suck. Politics is a joke. It's just for really remedial people. And when you keep on, I'll say this in the next video. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.